Max, quick warning. Ian spoils the ending of Grey's Anatomy Season 5 in about 2 minutes. What?
Yeah! Is it WoW time?
Please welcome executive producer, World of Warcraft.
Oh, they're doing Classic first. They're doing Classic first. All right, pog. Oh, what the?
Wow. What's up, Blizzcon?
She's dripped out the wazoo.
Oh, I'm so excited to see you all here. This is fantastic. Well, can you believe we've been playing World of Warcraft for almost 20 years?
Chat, can I pull off that jacket? You can
know,
be honest.
2004 was a while ago, right?
Yes, Max, you
know,
can. Yes, you can pull it off, Max.
We
yeah.
waited in those lines for those midnight
thank
releases and got our discs. Yeah! And we raced home to install those WoW discs one by one. Across nearly 2 decades, players all over the world have taken part in the stories of Jaina, Sylvanas, Arthas.
Yo, Sylvanas gets a lot of cheers, but like.
And of course,
Yo,
so many others.
She
and
killed a lot of people,
jumped
right?
Through the portal into Outland. We sailed off into Northrend, and we watched Sargeras stab the world with that sword.
Yeah, but she's hot. Is that?
During that time, gaming has
So you
changed,
can just do whatever
and
if
you
you're
have
hot?
changed. And so have we, particularly in the past year.
All
The
right.
entire team across both Modern and Classic have embraced their communities. We are truly listening to your voices and taking action. My friends at Blizzcon, now is the perfect time to prepare to close chapters, open new ones, and double down on why we all fell in love with World of
here we go.
Warcraft in the first place.
Here we go. What are you announcing?
With that in mind, let's get to it. As many of you know, WoW Classic was born out of the community.
Oh, let's just get right into it then.
And of course, most of you know that still drives us today. Like just in August, inspired by our community, we released Classic Hardcore.
Hardcore, Makara.
So, in Hardcore, you only get one life.
That,
And
yep.
if you die, you may laugh, you may cry, you may have to replace a keyboard.
It's
But
being
you
real.
go again. We've loved watching you take on the challenge or die trying. And because the hardcore community has asked, the team is planning to add a new way to play hardcore early next year.
Oh.
And last month in Wrath Classic, we released the Fall of the Lich King patch. And while there's still more to come in Wrath, earlier this year, we looked at your feedback to think about where are we gonna go next. We read through a lot, and I mean a lot of your feedback on social media forums, and we sent out surveys to our players. And here at BlizzCon, we're happy to announce Cataclysm is coming.
Okay, so they're doing Cata.
And
But what else?
it's coming
But what else,
with
though?
hashtag changes based on your feedback, just like you'd expect from Classic. So now, let's jump into the Wayback Machine and get a reminder of all things Cataclysm.
Guys, I don't think they're done announcing stuff. Hold. I don't know anything, though.
Get ready, my friends, because I love the passion, by the way. Get ready, my friends, because the road to Deathwing's destruction is coming in the first half of next year.
Cook. Let her cook, yeah.
All right.
Cook.
Now, over the past 4 years of Classic, We've watched you master the vanilla experience, and we've loved it. So much, in fact, that we thought we'd add some unique flavor with a seasonal note and a dash of discovery. Season of Discovery is vanilla wow with a spicy twist. You're going to discover new secrets as you scour the world and find class-altering abilities.
Class-altering abilities.
Have you ever wondered what it might be like to be a tanking warlock? Or take on the role of a mage healer? In Season of Discovery, you can. The season is going to launch with an initial level cap of 25.
Huh?
When you hit that max level,
What?
you'll be met with the brand new level 25 endgame. You'll discover a brand new 10-player Black Fathom Deeps raid with new and reimagined bosses, mechanics,
That's cool.
and of course, rewards. Then, after a couple of months, we'll raise the level cap a bit. You'll find even more.
Guys,
endgame
let her finish her
content,
cook. Let her
and
finish
so
her cook.
it will go. If you're here at BlizzCon, you can play the Black Fathom Deeps raid in the Warcraft Hall. So, if you love Classic or just a little intrigued about what exactly a Warlock tank can do, go check it out. For all of you watching online, don't worry. You won't have to wait long to play.
I mean, this is pretty much
Because
what
we
people are
want
asking for, right?
you
Like,
to discover
unless they're going
all
to
of the
literally
secrets
branch in a different
together,
path, which is a
there will be
massive
no
undertaking,
public testing.
they're, I don't know, they
WoW
have to stay
Classic
with
Season of
nostalgic
Discovery
things. Like, this is pretty
launches
much
in a
what you
few
want. The
short
whole, like, Warlock
weeks
tank and
on November
Mage Healer thing's
30th.
kind of crazy, but... Oh, it's really soon. That's really cool. That's early as fuck. I did not think it was going to be that fast.
For more information on the Season of Discovery and Cataclysm, don't
It's
miss
so
the
weird,
Classic
though. I could
panel
still
this
see it going
afternoon.
poorly just because, like,
All right.
it sounds, like,
now
cool
it's
and
time
different,
to talk to my
but
Dragon Riders in modern
people love the
WoW.
way things were, and it's just going to be different. Like, for example, how is the No Changes crowd going to react to this?
Our
Yeah.
team remains committed to giving you meaningful game updates about every 8 weeks.
Oh,
with
here it comes, here
more
it comes, here it
content
comes.
sprinkled in between. We really want Azeroth to feel alive and the home you want to come back to no matter how you play. Our next major update, Guardians of the Dream, is going live in just 5 days. I want to give a shout out to my elves. It is finally our time.
Interesting that she's announcing this, and
1
that
week
she has to
later,
pass
Season
it off.
3 will start with the last raid of the expansion, Amirdrasil, the Dream's Hope. There we will have our final showdown with Farak and defend
Yep,
our
confirmed.
new world tree. But fear not,
Pretty much
that's
already
not the end of
confirmed,
our
but
time in the Dragon Isles. There's a lot more to come in Dragonflight that will serve as both the epilogue of this story and the bridge to our next one. Like I said earlier, we are evolving. We are changing our approach to this
Wait,
big,
what?
beautiful game and how we look ahead to new chapters. BlizzCon, it's time for a new adventure. One that has grown from the very seeds of what captured our hearts when we first set foot in Azeroth. For veteran players, the last 20 years have led us to this. And for those who have yet to join us, now is the time. And who better
Huh?
to talk about the first step in this journey?
dude, that girl's so unsure. She's like, who could it be?
Than someone who
I don't get it.
carved the path in the first place. Everyone, please welcome my friend and the executive creative director of the Warcraft universe, Chris Metzen.
What up, BlizzCon? Holy smokes! Horde, where you at? Alliance!
I got a horde chair. You see it?
Blizzcon as one! Holy smokes, thank you.
I'm actually really interested here.
It is,
I wonder,
thank you guys. It has been a long, strange trip to get back to this spot, I tell you that. It has been interesting this past year, being back under the hood of World of Warcraft. It has reminded me of a few things. One, I love Warcraft.
oh yeah, there we go. Easy
Number
applause
two,
there.
you know what? I really missed this work. And number three, on the real, it feels amazing to be back and part of this Blizzard family again. As Holly said a bit ago, next year is the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft. I can't even believe it. Whatever. How many of y'all have been playing from the beginning?
No! Bro, I actually started playing so late.
Crazy.
I'm not a part of this
So
year.
given that, what was that? Doesn't matter. We started thinking.
Yeah, this is what you
So,
call farming
what
pogs.
next?
He is
Right?
farming.
What expansion hook? What single storyline could possibly match such a historic occasion? We started thinking about, well, I did, the good old days, right? And some of those early mythic ideas that kind of established the background of Warcraft. Started thinking about even some of the newer ideas that have played out more recently, but still in a way feel a little unresolved. And in the mix of all that stuff, in the mix of all those ideas,
He's cooking.
particular things like, what the hell has Magni actually been babbling about all these years? Was the thing that he came
I
to
don't know
warn us
anything about
about
that.
in Battle for Azeroth, did it actually play out? Or is there potentially something darker still looming on the horizon? I don't know. Will there eventually be an apocalyptic confrontation between the forces of the light and the void? Talk to me, BlizzCon. I'll tell you what, for nothing, my pally Maine, I'm all in on that kind of thing if it happens. It's gonna happen. And really the big question for all the marbles, what have the Titans actually been doing since the dawn of civilization? What is the real purpose of all of their cute little installations slammed into the side of the planet? Do we know everything we need to know about their real intentions for our world? Just saying. BlizzCon.
He has very good stage presence.
All of these hooks and 100 more. 68, carry the 2. A bunch more. All cooking in the pot.
Oh, he's literally cooking.
Started to reveal a storyline. Something epic. How epic? Real epic. A storyline that in almost every way feels like the culmination of the first 20 years of our storytelling. A storyline provided we do our jobs, we do the thing that will vector us into the next 20 years of adventure.
Wow. They said 30 earlier.
BlizzCon. Are you with me, BlizzCon? We call this storyline the World Soul Saga.
Okay.
The World Soul Saga is so epic, as we covered. It cannot be contained within any single expansion.
No, it's not announcing an
It is
yeah,
built
wait.
to play out over multiple expansions over the next few years. Come on now.
Okay. I'll let him keep going. I have some thoughts
Having
with that.
said that, we are working on multiple ways to deliver this adventure to you a little faster than you're used to.
Yep, I knew it. This shit's coming out early next year.
We're not
or like
going to get into
mid-year.
it at this BlizzCon, forgive me. But keep your ears peeled. I assure you, we are moving with purpose. And the last thing we really want is for y'all to have your grandkids controlling your mouse and your keyboard trying to wrap this thing up. So, it's coming. Also, given the scale of this monster, we have decided to change it up today. Here we go.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun,
Oh, they're
dun.
cheering. Something's happening.
Instead of just debuting your next expansion all on its lonesome, we have decided to give you a glimpse at your next 3 expansion sets.
Okay.
Does this meet with your approval, BlizzCon?
Oh, there are massive cheers happening. Something in 20 seconds is going to be crazy.
My friends, I'm going to warn you, there may be mild spoilers ahead. Actually, I'm just kidding. They ain't mild. Buckle up. Are you ready, BlizzCon?
Okay, that was the cheer.
The first part of the World Soul Saga and your 10th expansion is called World of Warcraft, The War Within.
Okay. So I don't think a single leak was right about that.
In this chapter, you will be descending into the heart of Azeroth itself, exploring new subterranean kingdoms and engaging with
Oh, we did hear
ancient
about that.
cultures like the Earthen and the terrifying Nerubians of Azj-Kahet.
We're going in
But as
caves.
the forces
Caves.
of darkness close in around our precious world soul, you, yeah, that's you, will be called to do what you always do, which is dispense indiscriminate justice upon all those who got it coming. Talk to me, BlizzCon.
He's so good on stage. He's basically, he just said nothing, but like people are just excited. That's how
The
you know you're
second
great.
part of the World Soul Saga is called World of Warcraft Midnight.
Ooh. Wow. Very name.
In this chapter, you will be returning, ready, to the old world, to the fabled lands of Quel'Thalas.
Where's that?
There, the forces of the Void have invaded Azeroth, intent on snuffing out the light of the Sunwell and plunging the world into darkness and fear. You will not only help reunify the scattered elven tribes of Azeroth, but you will make your stand with the forces of the light and banish the shadow forever. Of course, BlizzCon, it is Azeroth. Things may not go to plan. Things may just spiral wildly out of control, leading us to the third part of the World Soul Saga. World of Warcraft, the last Titan.
Yeah! Fuck yeah. Love that.
In this chapter, you will again be returning to the old world, this time to the wintry lands of Northrend.
Oh, shit.
And there, at Ulduar, you will bear witness to the return of the Titans to Azeroth. And there, you will uncover a vast conspiracy, one that stretches throughout the history of the world, one that will challenge everything you think you know about the Titans, their intentions, and the true nature of Azeroth itself. In time, my friend, in time. And it's called Silithus. There you go. BlizzCon, my hope, our dear hope, is that you can see when it comes to WoW storytelling, we ain't screwing around. We are playing for all the marbles. We are working to establish a thundering heartbeat for this franchise. Now. Now, BlizzCon. Hearken to me. Always wanted to say that. Thank you. Whether you are a current player, and I'm going to bet that most of you are, or maybe you jumped off the WoW train a few expansions ago, now is the time to come home. Now is the time to pull on your boots, pick up your broadsword or your favorite glowy staff, and get in this fight. Friends, Azeroth needs her defenders now more than ever. Now, in a few moments, we are going to give you a deeper look at the war within. But before we do that, I want to leave you with a little something to chew on. I want to remind you all that sometimes very epic things can begin with small, heartfelt moments. What you're about to see is one of those moments. And with that, BlizzCon, proud defenders of Azeroth! Let the World Soul Saga begin!
Oh, here we go. Cook. Yo, Anduin's seen some shit.
You're here to tell me we don't get to hide. Is that it?
You needed time. we stayed away. But time by itself heals nothing.
You didn't just come here for me. It's the visions. You've seen them.
I suspect many have lately.
So they've got to be looking at the sword, yeah?
Someone is calling out from the heart of the world. Like a voice from a dream. Something dark is coming, Anduin. The world needs your light again. My son.
I am not that person anymore. I have no light. Not after what I've seen. Not after what I've done.
You are not your past, Anduin. I trust you.
Dude, this looks insane.
They're getting worse. Look, whatever's coming, I'll stand with you. Of course I will. But we were drawn here by the voice. Who is it, Thrall? Who's calling out to us?
I'm not sure yet. But that sword was aimed at someone.
That was cool. Where did that sword come from, though?
I guess we're not ignoring that sword anymore. I do have to say, though, every time I see that cinematic, and I've seen it many times, it gets me right in my heart. It feels like a new beginning, and it feels like coming home. And we are so excited about where we are going. And now that you've seen or heard the overview for the World So Saga, let's talk about the war within. As we all gather and explore beneath the surface, we'll find an ancient Nerubian civilization. They will be led by someone we were first introduced to in Legion, Xal'atath, a harbinger of the Void. The Void brings destruction and darkness that threatens all light in our world. The last time we saw Xal'atath, she promised we would meet again. And it turns out she was right. And while Anduin, Thrall, and others share the same visions emanating from the heart of the world, some are seeing something quite different.
My visions are not the same.
That's a dragon
as the
riding griffin,
others.
right?
No radiance. No song. Just the shadow taunting me from below.
Very Naruto. Oh, that looks sick. Hero Town. Oh, that's really interesting. Oh, further improvements on writing. Dynamic play.
The fate of our world rests upon the edge of a knife. And our battle lies deep within.
Wow! I
In the
can
War
fix
Within,
her.
alongside beautiful, unique underground zones, we will have challenging dungeons and raids and some new features too that are built to last. If you like exploring on your own with a couple of friends or family, we have delves. These are a variety of bite-sized experiences for 1 to 5 players that will offer endgame rewards. You may also find in your delve a familiar character who'd be willing to fight alongside you. And if you're like me and you have an obsession with alts, we have Warbands. With this feature, you could treat all of your characters like family and share banks, reputations, transmog, and
Oh, interesting.
more. We're also introducing a new layer of customization for your class specs with hero talents. You might want to take
Is
your
this borrowed
character
power,
down the
or is this,
path
like,
of a
permanent?
Dark Ranger, let's say, or a
Oh.
Farseer, and more.
Oh. That's potentially okay.
Also, during your travels underground, you will meet the Earthen Dwarves, and you'll be able to unlock
Are they
them
basically
as our new
subclasses?
allied race.
Sub-specs, I guess?
I mean, who doesn't love a dwarf? The facial hair options are spectacular. There's so much more to talk about, so please join the What Next panel that's coming up right after the opening ceremony right here. What I can tell you, though, is that the call to get into the fight to save our world will ring out when The War Within releases next year. And lastly, I sincerely want to say, we are so excited to begin this new journey with you. And from our hearts to
Having
yours,
it be the final raid and not summer
thank you
is not
for
good.
bringing our world to life.
That means we're going to be doing this raid for like a year. That's insane.
And now, with his own note of thanks,
Even with
Mike
like a season
Ibarra.
4, it's still, yeah. Oh, he's on the floor.
Thank you to all the teams who presented today. There really is so much to look forward over the next 2 days. And this is only the beginning. I can't wait to walk the halls of all of Anaheim with all of you. It is truly a joy to be here with the Blizzard team and our players. Blizzcon, be great to each other and enjoy the show.
All right. All right, so gonna be interested to see more about in the What's Next panel for sure. But No, even Fated raids. Like, listen, here's the way I'll look at Fated. Okay. So Fated last expansion, what it was. Well, first of all, the whole Fated season was great for what it was, right? It wasn't a full team of people making it. It was made by almost no one. It was not. It was not like planned at the beginning of the expansion. It was like basically just extra. Basically, they got to the end of the last season they were gonna make, and then a couple of developers were like, "Hey, what if we spiced up the last couple months of the season, right?" So in the scenario where it was spontaneous and it was just an extra way to make the long farm period at the end of the expansion shorter and like more interesting, then it's good. Here's where I think it's bad. If they are releasing only one more major season this expansion, so this season that you're doing currently, or you're about to do in 2 weeks, or I guess coming out on Tuesday, this season, that cannot be out for a year, and then you break that up with Fated. Like, Fated is not a replacement for a regular season. It's not good enough to be that. That being said, it is good to break up a season at the very end of the expansion, but it cannot replace one. That's not good enough. So I'd definitely be upset at the notion that season, like if they're gonna do a Fated kind of thing to replace the season. I think that's bad. I said that before though, but yeah. Someone said you get 3 days early access to the War Within on the shop with the Epic Edition. I guess, yeah, I guess that's going to come to WoW eventually. Like, they do that in every game now. They just recently did it with Diablo. I'm not a fan of that in general because it feels like, you know, it seems like a cash grab. So many games do this now. It's like the new meta. The new meta is like the actual game release, and then people who don't pay quite as much, they can do a little bit less, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I'm a fan of that actually in MMOs. Like, I feel like that works for some games, but in MMOs, that's like super weird, I think. Yeah, either way. So what's really interesting is Classic Plus. So I'm only going to have a few minutes to talk about this before they kick me off, I think. But Classic Plus is like, well, I guess whatever Season of Discovery, they're like cooking. Like, it sounds like they're going to majorly change stuff. They're going to release things into the expansion, or into the season later, and there's going to be a 10-man. They're making new raids, basically. They're making a dungeon into a raid with new bosses. Bro, they only gave 2 examples, but they said, what if you could be a warlock tank or a mage healer? I could be wrong, but if I was going to guess, people would want to play mage and be a damage dealer and have it like have some new talents, have like some, you know, shake it up a little bit more. I don't know if they're trying to be healers, right? Like, I think that might be going a little too spicy. Like, I think. So we'll probably see soon. I mean, obviously I hope it's great, but yeah, very, very interesting. I hope it'll be fun. The thing is like when they announced Season of Mastery before, they also like did some stuff with raid bosses, and I thought I would maybe be interested in that. I'm not a big guy into Classic. I just get bored leveling, like with the way that classes play. But I mean, if they're making that more interesting, then maybe I would try it. I don't know. But yeah, for WoW, so the whole 3 expansion thing, that is really interesting. Oh, there's so many people around my stream right now. There are so many people in front of me. I think I get it from a narrative perspective, right? They want to tell a large story over multiple expansions. You know, like I feel like, here, let me give an analogy. So have you guys ever seen TV shows be really good in the first few seasons and they fall off after that? Okay, so really why that happens is they get approved for filming it, and they basically have to write out the first full couple seasons, at least in writing, and they get their job based on that writing. And then they spend the first 2 seasons of that show making everything that they already spent a ton of time ahead of time preparing and thinking about to make it perfect. And then at the end of that second season, they get renewed for a 3rd season. But the thing is they spent all the time in season 2 making sure that season 2 was good enough to get another job and to get hired again. So then season 3s and 4s and 5s usually fall off because you have to YOLO the story at the same time as the perfection process. So naturally the quality falls off. In a lot of ways, I think this is like World of Warcraft through ICC and through Wrath. Is like that story was known before WoW came out, and that was all building to that point, right? And after Wrath, it kind of felt like a TV show that was past its first few seasons and just kind of doing them both at the same time kind of thing. Them doing the 3 expansions in a row it's Metzen saying, we want to tell a really good story, just like the 3 expansions at the beginning of WoW, but we're going to need more than 1 expansion to do it. And that culmination at the end of it mattered so much more because of that. So that actually sounds really good to me. I think I'm not into that part of the game, but I know people will like that, and I think that's smart. Yeah, I got a dip. So here's the deal. I wanted to keep going, but they are kicking us off. They only had these streaming stations for like 2 or 3 weeks. I wanted to be able to stream this and stream longer, but they are not letting me do that. So I have to. Yeah, I tried to get them to like let me stream longer, but we can't. So I'll be at the Warcraft What's Next panel, and I'll obviously be live probably some other time this weekend to talk about all the things they talk about there. So I'll see you guys later. Maybe I'll post some opinions maybe on the old tweeter. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for the stream. Remember to eat your vegetables and just everything that goes along with that. That's usually that's the main one. All right, see you later.
All right. So then came the actual convention, and Blizzard decided to announce 3 expansions at once, which we'll go into whether that's going to be over, if that's 6 years of expansions or if we're getting an expansion every year. I think that's interesting. I'm leaning towards 18-month or shorter expansions than 2 years, because the idea that they would announce 6 years of X-Backs all at once seems really, 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 really wild. They said 2030. They said those 3 conclude in 2030. Holy shit. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that they would do that. And it's kind of a big, and I talked to a few of them, they understood that it was like kind of a big swing. They said before 2030. I mean, yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean anything. You could do 2-year expansions or 18-month expansions, and you could still be done before 2030, right? It'd be 2024, which means War Within would go to 2026, and the other one, I guess, okay, if you want to take their words literally, which by the way, let's relax a little bit on the specifics, because we're talking like 6 years from now, almost 7 years from now, but like it could definitely be both, right? It would end in 2030, or 2030, but if you're saying like, it'll have to be done, they said before 2030, so that means they're going to speed it up. I mean, we'll find out. I don't think either way that it matters. Like, I could see 18-month expansions being fine. You'd have to work that out a lot of different ways, but like I don't think that would be objectively bad. In fact, to be honest with you, if we're only getting 3 full raids in expansion, I would definitely rather it be 18 months, because then we're just going to get more raids in like a 2-year span, if that makes sense. But we'll see if they I'm pretty pessimistic about that. We'll talk about that more later. But I think I know why they did it. And we actually talked about this before BlizzCon, and it wasn't really related. I mean, obviously no one could have guessed they were doing this, but also surprising that this wasn't leaked. It's possible that the War Within was leaked, but I don't think anyone was like, they're gonna do this, So yeah, the Cata Classic, the title was leaked. Oh, it was leaked 2 hours before the announcement, but no one believed it. Well, then that doesn't count. Yeah, I think. So here's okay, so you guys wonder, like, even though they're doing Cata Classic and they're doing like the Season of Discovery, which is cool, clearly the like biggest hype in WoW wrapped up with Wrath. And I used an analogy before to compare it to like TV ratings and like how TV shows work, right? So like, if you ever watched a TV show and you notice that it's good for the first couple seasons and then it trails off after that, usually the reason why is because they got approved for the show in the first place by having a banger script for 2 seasons. And then they spent the entire 2 seasons on the show with all of their time and effort rewriting and optimizing and perfecting what they've already done in the hopes of getting hired for a 3rd season. If your show hasn't been renewed for a 3rd season yet, you're not pre-writing that, most likely. You might be thinking about where it's going, but you're wisely spending your time working on the actual show that you currently have, right? And then if you get the job, you work with it. But then you get into season 3 and you no longer have all of that work you've had ahead of time, and it's a little bit less quality, and you're now having to kind of do both things at once, and it becomes harder to do. Basically, WoW felt like a fully written show, you could say, all the way up through the end of Wrath, like, and through ICC, the Lich King. And then everything from Cata if you want to look at it this way, kind of felt like lore-wise and like, I guess, forget like the quality of the lore, but just how people felt about it, how important it was to them. It felt like it was like a show that was kind of YOLOing it rather than one that knew what it was like coming in. And I think that's why they're doing this World Soul Saga thing. Number one, Metzen seems like a big idea guy, and I'm sure he wanted to shake something up and do something big. So I bet they were going for a little bit of change for the sake of change anything, just like anyway, just like try something new. But I think if they're working on these expansions concurrently, is what they said, and they're building one big story that you want to be invested through all the way, which I guess there's been some overarching stuff that's kind of gone on through all of WoW's expansions, but it's usually just like one WoW expansion, it's on its own, and then it goes away. I think they hired him a while ago, and they want to write 3 full seasons of TV and go directly into, like, they want it all to work together, and it's not going to be YOLOing it one piece at a time. It's, like, much more constructed. Obviously, hope that goes well. I don't really care as much about the story. It seems like people are fucking eating this shit up. Like, I don't... When was the last time the hype around WoW was this high? Like, there was something I saw tweeted earlier, and for someone who wasn't actually reading Twitter a lot this weekend, I found something really interesting. I saw a Wowhead post, and it was talking about Fated raids happening. And if I would have read something about Fated raids, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, it would have been just like fucking... The top comments would have just been so negative, very toxic. And there's a lot of people who are still... I have my own negative feelings about Fated. But then I read this thing, it was like an hour after the tweet went up. And just like, everything was just like, oh, this sounds like it'll be good. It'll be nice, you know? Like... And there always is those kind of things on tweets like that, but they're so buried below all the super toxic negative stuff, and there was such a massive departure of negativity, and it had nothing to do with Fated. It was just like the overall optimism around WoW is totally different. Yeah, it's definitely exciting for sure. I don't know how that really affects me though, because I'm currently just thinking that the fact that there's no 10.3 is really, really sad. Like, they're releasing content about at the same pace as BFA. So the distance between Season 1 and Season 2 and Season 2 and Season 3 starting is almost identical to BFA. But BFA just had 4 raids and this one has 3. Like, in the amount of time it's going to take us to go from Amirdrasil to the end of the expansion is like almost the amount of time it took to go from like Eternal Palace to the end of the expansion. Except there's just not going to be a Nyalotha. It's a little faster for BFA. It was a little bit different time of the year. But, like, that's just why, you know? It's I don't know. It's so strange. And the thing that I don't get is, like, they were releasing so much more content throughout the expansion, right? Like, this is inarguable. The amount of stuff they were doing in 0.5 and 0.7 patches this expansion far exceeds anything they did in previous expansions, even really good ones. They released all the stuff at the start of the patch, and then that was it. They, like, released the same amount of things at the start of the patches and just made more. So it seemed like that was all working, and they were creating, you know, really good stuff, and then they were going fast, and it seemed way faster than it was because, like, Shadowlands was so slow. But it was, like, pretty on pace with, like, where they left off before the COVID expansion. It's just so weird for me to see them cranking out so much content just to stop, you know? Now, there still might be a lot of content, I guess. And there's one thing I want to hold out for Fated, and that is that I think Fated this time is going to look much more robust and much more like a regular patch. Just because last expansion, it was this spontaneous thing done by 3 people. And this expansion, it's clearly was planned to be done the whole time, it seems. So I'm assuming that a lot more people are going to be involved with it, and they might put a lot more effort into it. So what we know of Fated, something made by, like, a very small percentage of the amount of people that normally work on a patch, this time maybe it's using their entire company that usually works on patches, and maybe it'll be a lot better. Obviously, there's no raid, it sounds like, so that's going to be default bad. But I'm not ready, even though that sucks for me as much as anyone, right? Like, I'm not willing to write it off because I know that it's going to probably be a lot more than what we got last time. So we'll see when we get there for sure. What other announcements were there besides like getting into the actual deep dive panel? And then there's a few interviews. Yo, that cinematic for War Within was so tight, man. It was so cool. Anduin looks like a fucking beast. Can you touch on the paid early access locked to the Epic Edition? Yeah, I can. I don't like it. Like short form, I guess. I don't think it's also that impactful, but I don't like... So, okay, there's 2 parts of it. There's number 1, you get beta access by buying the Giga Edition. That is good and bad. So why it's good was before it was actually a huge pain to get beta when it came out. Like people would just be waiting weeks and months for beta, and they would have gladly paid an expansion they were already going to buy to get into the beta for sure. But I also think what they'll probably do because of that is gatekeep beta behind paying for it. Maybe. We don't know that, but let's just say they do that because they if that's the case, then I think it would probably equal out to being fine. Like there's a negative to it, but like most of the people are going to get it anyway, so like it actually gives you a deterministic access to beta, which is actually pretty huge in WoW. Like people fucking love WoW betas. They're on them all the time. And I also can't say this for sure, but I'm almost positive they're still going to give out keys and shit. So yeah, so the early access. So as far as I can tell, the early access for the expansion, you cannot do anything at max level. You can only level characters. So you can log on early and just level, but it won't allow you to actually start anything at max level. It just allows you to level them up, I guess. Oh, and you can do professions, which is really fucking weird. Like I think for like the Race to World first, it's this is not their intention, but like it's randomly nice because like we need to level a bunch of characters and it like gives you a little bit of a buffer. But it's also expensive. I think my take on it is you can't deny that all these companies are trying to make money for sure. And the new meta for games in the last like couple years has been this paid early access thing. They just did it with Diablo. Actually, barely any other MMOs do it. The Final Fantasy one isn't quite like that. The Final Fantasy one actually, just a little bit of a tangent, makes no sense. Like I don't understand the Final Fantasy one at all. It's if you pre-order it, you get early access, but it doesn't cost any more at all. And if you pre-order it after the early access has already started, you get instant access to the game. So I genuinely don't understand what makes it any different. What makes it any different for the release? It's for server purposes? Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense though. Like there would be zero difference in server load whether there was an official release on the early access versus there being the actual release later. The only thing I can think of is it's some kind of weird marketing, like secret hack or something. Yeah, it's really, anyway, sorry. I thought, by the way, I've thought about this so much, especially when Endwalker came out. I like tried to find some kind of logic behind it and I just couldn't. It was so strange. But yeah, the WoW one, what was I saying? So other games, specifically RPG games, do this constantly. And I'm sure it's a money grab, right? All these companies are trying to make money. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to make the Epic Edition seem better. I would say in general, I'm not a fan of the concept. I think it's a little lame. And I want to say that it feels especially bad in an MMO. And I don't know if that's just because I'm biased because I play MMOs mainly. But I feel like MMOs are a little different where you start early. Like Diablo, it's like basically a single player game. It's like that coming out early, I had really no issues with at all. But like in an MMO, it seems like wrong. I don't know. I'm really maybe I'm trying to, okay, so like here I'm trying to think of some plus sides. Normally leveling is fucking horrible, so maybe if they like do this paid early access thing, but you can only level during it, and it's not over the weekend, so most people who have jobs are like not looking to play it anyway. If it spreads out the server things truly, like spreads out server stability, and like you can actually level your characters, that would be like personally, because I buy that edition anyway, right? So like that would be nice for me. But like what's gonna happen is you're gonna be ready to hit max level, and then like the game's gonna come out, like officially come out, and then the servers are just gonna get fucking blasted anyway, because the people who played for the previous 3 days are still playing, plus it's getting an influx. Then you just won't be able to play the game, whether you're not able to play the game right when it comes out or when you're leveling versus when you're actually max level and doing things is the same. You just, both of them result in you can't playing. So yeah, that's my take. To be honest with you, I don't really care too much about it, but I will tell you that I don't like it. It seems bad, personally. But I don't think it's like a huge departure from the, like if you were to make a graph showing like them extracting more, all businesses and games extracting more money from their fans over the last couple of years, it's like, you know, probably have always just been going like this, and this is just another thing along that line. I don't think it's like this and then it's like 3 days early access and then it's like crazy. It's just kind of just one of those moments where you're just like, yep, this is capitalism's sick. Woohoo. Let's check Wowhead for the first time all weekend. So I was not at the deep dive panel. I didn't see any of it. I didn't see any of their interviews or things since then. Taliesin said this deep dive was the best one since Legion. Taliesin, is that how you say his name? Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. I mean, sure. Let's get into it then. Did I tell you guys when I met Taliesin and Evitel, I guess? Is that how you say their name? Bro, he was really happy to meet me, and he shook my hand and like looked me in the eye and said like, I love the podcast. And I'm almost positive that they didn't know me before that, and they only knew of me from PoddyC, which is crazy. Also, I had so many people tell me they love the podcast, which is great. I really think the last episode and the episode before it, we really came into our element, and it made it... The first one was too robotic, but yeah. Also, the sheer amount of Liquid jerseys... By the way, shout out you guys wearing your Liquid stuff to that convention. There was fucking so many of you. You could not look in a direction and not see someone in Liquid stuff. It was crazy. So why that's important is this is a bad time in esports. Like, people are... It's a hard time to make it work in esports at the moment. We're not in danger. We're actually in a really good spot for Liquid. But, like, it's important for us to have as much value for them as possible. And Liquid was at this BlizzCon, and they saw the amount of people... And they mentioned to me this multiple times. They're, like, blown away with how ingrained Liquid is into the WoW community now from us. And that's really good for us. So shout out to you guys. So if you guys probably, however long we'll be with Liquid, you guys extended it by a little bit by wearing all that Liquid shit. So that was super cool. The War Within deep dive panel. Let's go.
Back BlizzCon, we're starting the day off right. Here's the World of Warcraft deep dive.
Wait, do I just skip through part of this? Usually during the deep dives, they like talk about like zones and lore and stuff, and they end with the systems, or is it like mainly all bangers? Hell yeah, okay.
Good afternoon, BlizzCon.
Oh, the what sword shirt, that goes hard.
So good to be back. You are here in the arena with me right in front of me, whether you're watching from elsewhere in the halls, whether you're joining us from the comfort of your home. Thank you for taking the time to join me for this deeper, closer look at what's coming next in the War Within. I love you too. I love you, BlizzCon. Morgan and Maria gave you kind of a sneak peek at some of what's coming. Today I want to spend a bit more time giving you more information on the core features of War Within, as well as a few things that didn't get mentioned at all yesterday. So, beginning, just a little teaser there.
Wait, I just sat back down.
So, to begin as a few
oh, they weren't supposed to do that.
Didn't get mentioned at all. Beginning.
Wait, the crowd interaction with what he's saying is so sick. Like, usually in big broadcasts, you can't actually feel how it felt in the arena, but you actually can with the way that they've engineered this. Like, do you hear them being like,
so,
ooh.
Beginning, just a little teaser there. So, to begin, let's talk delves. So, what is a delve? As you heard yesterday, delves are these quick bite-sized epic adventures for flexible-sized groups, for either solo or with up to 5 players. They are role agnostic. Doesn't matter if you're a couple DPS, if you're a healer and a tank, if you're a solo healer. We're going to make it work. We're going to meet you where you are, how you want to play. Delves are a new endgame pillar. This is a permanent addition to World of Warcraft going forward. And
okay, this is, I kind of, he's going to explain it more. I kind of do want to stop here, though. I really wonder how deep that's going to go. Like, I imagine it's not, right, like, right now it's like Raids, Mythic plus PvP. I highly doubt it's like Raid, Mythic plus Delves PvP, right? I think it's probably going to just be... And I'm not thinking like as far as difficult, but like when he means endgame, it's just like something you're going to do all the time. I'm sure he'll explain it in a bit. And I found it interesting earlier when they said it's like 1 to 5 players and it's role agnostic, meaning that I wonder if in specific runs, like if you have 2 healers, right, it's going to make them specifically do way less damage to you. So like if you don't have a tank, they'll actually do less damage to you. Or if you don't have as many damage dealers, they'll reduce their health specifically. Definitely interested in seeing that.
Represents kind of a capstone to the outdoor world experience. We've had dungeons, we've had raids, we've had organized PvP, and I think we've had some stuff for.
Were you not in the room? No, I've never seen this yet.
But if you wanted progression, if you wanted...
Oh, by the way, I know you guys were just like pep PP laugh, like just wait, he doesn't know. Yeah, I actually don't know, and I'm gonna pause it just like I do every other video. So if you're one of those people that's like keep playing it, I'll actually link it, because I'm gonna talk through it. It's like my thing. So you can leave. I'll link that thing. You can watch on your own without like any pauses or anything.
Goals. If you wanted a deeper, more structured experience, frankly, we were letting you down. We want to change that. That's what delves represent in World of Warcraft. So structuring this, really we want to approach it as something that you are going to be engaging in all season long with variety and flexibility in how you approach it, and the replayability of the content is kind of a mainstay of what it's all about, but also want to build in progression. And I think if you're an outdoor world-focused player, a lot of the time, it's just about kind of spending your time doing a thing, going to a place, completing an event. But
when was the last time that I did like outdoor content and it was like interesting? Or I guess maybe not outdoor content. It would have been like a couple of patch features. It was probably like Visions. They wasn't outdoor content, but it like kind of feels like what I imagine this could feel like, or like the Withered training scenario. Like I guess World Quests back when AP was a thing, but that wasn't like actually interesting. That was like a chore, right? Like obviously, I'm assuming we're all on the same page where like you wouldn't want this to be something that you feel like you have to do for power and actually sucks, right?
There aren't necessarily goals to work towards. There aren't necessarily reasons to be excited about getting an item upgrade because it's going to let you do something
Rares?
you haven't been
Oh, you're right. Rares on Dragonflight launch. By the way, I still don't feel like Blizzard has been given enough credit for Dragonflight launch specifically. People were out here like fiends farming every single 3 eye level increase they could get by farming a rare. Like people were going crazy and none of it mattered. Like if you remember, everyone, they will fondly remember the first couple weeks of Dragonflight. Everyone was online having so much fun. Viewership was crazy and it all was irrelevant. You replaced every single piece of those. There was so much drama around it. Oh my God, Blizzard turned off this shit. Like, bro, you replaced every single one of those items in like 2 seconds when the season started. So the fact that Blizzard made the beginning of the patch that interesting without like actually giving you any content was fucking crazy. People are out there farming dirt and loving it.
Able to do before, a difficulty progression built into Delves is going to enable us to offer that. Now, there's a lot of lessons we've learned over the years from building this type of content, whether it was Torghast in Shadowlands, Island Expeditions, scenarios, you can throw in horrific visions in that list.
This is great. Okay, great thing so far. He mentioned a lot of things that had really positive things to them. You know, a lot of those things were also why people hear the word system now and they immediately have like a visceral negative reaction because of some of the negative parts of those things. But a lot of them actually turned out being great. And if they weren't great, they had great things about them that they could learn from and things that were bad about them that they could learn from as well, right? So the fact that it is kind of along the lines of those things they're trying to make permanent, there's absolutely a world. He mentioned Visions, right? Visions, very underrated thing. Like the progression and feeling of Visions is something that they could actually have come back in most patches, and if done well, would actually just be really, really fun, rewards or not. And it kind of does show that the War Within is going to be, again, kind of along the same lines of Dragonflight, where they're really focusing on evergreen features where they're, you know, as opposed to Battle for Azeroth, Legion, Shadowlands, where everything that they made was intended to be replaced in the expansion. Everything that they're making is intended to be part of the game going forward, and they're just like really working on the base game rather than all the bells and whistles. But I do hope, and we'll probably talk about this later, I hope they add more bells and whistles in the last couple patches. I actually think the game can handle it, and it won't be as big of a drop as having it be like a full expansion process.
We've learned a lot about how to tune these sorts of experiences, how to design them for flexible scaling groups of different sizes, of different role compositions, about, you know, what's fun and what isn't. But we've also learned, based on your feedback, about what not to do in some cases, in terms of how we structure it, how we present it.
How the players access it.
Saying this
accessibility is always where it's bad.
Is that it's an offering in parallel to the others, to dungeons, to raids. If you want to do this, if this is your jam, if this is your type of gameplay, we're there for you, and we want this to be as deep as you want it to be.
Now that's really, so this kind of answers that question I was saying earlier, like where do they see this on that level? And they do. Wow. I'm a little skeptical of that, but let's see.
If you're happy running Mythic Plus and you just want to focus on that, we're not looking to add another item to the checklist of things you feel you have to do to compete.
But does that also apply to the current amount of people that kind of feel like if they want to do Mythic Plus, they kind of can't, and they also have to raid a little bit? And same thing, especially with raiders that feel like they have to Mythic Plus as well. I wonder if that's going to become, if they're going to kind of separate delves, I wonder if they'll think about separating those as well.
An alternative, unlike Torghast, which is something that, you know, we did kind of say, everyone has to do this, whether you like it or not, whether you'd rather do something else or not. That gets back to some of the philosophies that Morgan touched on yesterday and how we're approaching designing and evolving World of Warcraft. We want to meet you where you are. We want to respect your time. We want to offer you the ability to choose how you want to spend that time each day, each night in Azeroth. So in terms of the character of Delves and what a specific one will be like, the vibe here is about unraveling mysteries, it's about exploring, it's about feeling like an extension, a seamless extension of the outdoor world experience. These are not dungeons. Every dungeon is ultimately about killing a series of bosses or boss-like encounters. And the dungeon is over when you kill the final baddest boss at the end of the dungeon. And that's kind of the structure that they all have to conform to. As much as we try to vary the formula a bit, that's pretty much what they're going to be. In the outdoor world, things are a bit different. We can, break some more of the rules. And really, at the end of the day, the one consistent thing about delves is that they're all going to end with a room full of treasure. Some of those will have a final boss guardian in front of them. Others, you may be, just exploring, traversing the delve, flipping switches, solving a puzzle, defeating lieutenants, gathering things that you need to open the vault door. We can vary the gameplay, we can vary the feel of the experience. These are going to be instanced experiences, but they are seamless. When you walk up to, this, as I'll show in a second, a fog door at the entrance to a cave, at the entrance to a structure, you're just going to walk in, no loading screen, and now you're in a delve. You want to make sure this really feels like part of and an extension of the outdoor world.
Yeah, I've always felt like they could do more with that. So, was it Zeralek Caverns? Is that what it's called? It's probably something close to that. I don't remember the name. But like where you fly down that tunnel and then you end up in the thing and there was a loading screen that happened in the tunnel, but you did not realize it as a player. I don't know what that's actually called. But yeah, I just feel like that makes games feel infinitely more immersive. I actually wonder if it's possible for them to effectively remove loading screens from the game in like dungeons, raids, delves, things like that, and you just like walk in and it like does. I think that would be so cool.
Now, as part of an in-game pillar, that means we're going to tie this into seasons. So as well as a narrative progression over the course of a given season, there will be increasing rewards, increasing difficulty, and a change of pace, whether you're in season 1 of War Within, season 2, and so forth. Part of that is
no, it's not.
Going to be the NPC.
Wait, is that him?
In season 2.
Is that Panda TV and Brox? That's not Brox. Maybe it is.
And so forth.
I love Brox, dude.
Part of that is going to be the NPC companion that will be accompanying you on your adventures. The season 1 companion, as we mentioned yesterday, is our good friend Bran Bronzebeard. Now, what does this mean? What does the companion mean in practice? Well, it's a few things. One, it's definitely a narrative hook. It gives us a chance to help give context for your adventures, kind of narrate what you're going through. But also, it's a chance to kind of play with the mechanics and complement your playstyle. As Bran adventures with you, you might find some gear for Bran. You might be able to gear Bran up. You'll be able to spec him and customize his abilities.
I fuck with this. Okay, now I get it. I was wondering. I was just listening to this and I'm just like, bro, this is just gonna be so whatever. But the idea of powering up your NPC and them getting more and more power and gear is a like sense of progression that makes it feel worth it. And like the only thing I can really, and so many of you guys probably didn't do this, but like the withered training scenario in Legion, where like there was a point where it capped out and it was no longer interesting, but like the upgrades you got every week during that was so fun. And this sounds like it's going to incorporate that into what these delves are, and that just sounds fucking sick.
Your friends are bringing to the group, whether you want more survivability, whether you want help with someone to tank, whether you want more control. This can help us balance the experience as well and give you another vector for your progression over the course of the journey.
Bro, I hope they give that bitch talents too. So like in every season, like your companion's talents and abilities are like a little different. That'd be fun.
Now, I know this has kind of been very high level. I want to just give a couple of specific examples. Just kind of a day in the life of someone jumping into delves in War Within.
He said they will? Why would you say that? You just spoiled me.
So let's say
Think about that.
You are casually journeying across the Isle of Dorne and its pastoral beauty, and you come across this structure with fog door set into it.
He already said it. I didn't hear it then.
So as you
if I don't hear things, don't spoil it.
You are, as I mentioned, seamlessly in the delve.
You know what I mean?
And you will find, just huddled inside the entrance, a group of expedition scouts who have come to this place. They've heard reports of great secrets, great treasures, powerful relics stored within, but they've been unable to proceed further. Because, they tell you, and Bran is among them, mind you, they tell you this place, there's an unnatural, there's a disturbing darkness that has settled over this entire vault, and we can't proceed. Fortunately, they have in their possession a relic that they have brought that is an enchanted candle that can light the way. It has a little light radius around it. If you think back to the Vault of the Wardens dungeon, if you remember that in Legion, what the basement was.
I loved that dungeon. Super random, but I think Vault of the Wardens was very fun.
Like where it really felt like just like a dark, scary place, but you could have this beacon in the darkness to guide your way. You have one of those. But, they tell you, it has very limited fuel. They dare not proceed on their own because they worry they're just going to get trapped in the darkness and destroyed.
All right, where's the payoff?
But you, of course, being the champion who's come along, you're up to the task. So you take that candle with its light radius that will begin to shrink progressively as your limited fuel burns, and you take some steps into the delve. Now, who do you find in here? Well, as it happens, you run across fellows like this guy. More jacked than your average kobold, but there's a lot of kobolds in here. And as you know, as any World of Warcraft player knows, where you find kobolds, you're going to find candles. And this guy's going to put up a fight, but it being World of Warcraft and all, you're going to take his candle. And you're going to take the candles of his allies and his brethren. And, that will help fuel this magic light that you have, keep the light burning so that you can traverse the entire delve, defeat a couple of lieutenant-type enemies, bosses, solve a puzzle or two, and at the end, you make your way into the vault room that Bran is able to open once you bring him there, and you find this mock-up, work in progress of a treasure room, heaping with riches, treasure chests of various shapes and sizes. Some of the smaller ones, you can just walk up and open, collect a range of items,
you have to get keys for the big ones.
You name it. But you'll find a couple of extra large, resplendent chests in this room. Those may require special keys to open. Now, those keys you would obtain from doing kind of outdoor content, weekly quests. They're a bit more limited in how you can get them, but also allow us to offer and pace out the best rewards. They're on par with some other endgame content to make sure it's not,
Ooh, but what is that, though?
Infinitely grindable or anything like that, but it's an extension of your outdoor world loop if this is your playstyle. Now, let's say you come back to the same delve on another day. You might find that there isn't a magical darkness settled over the place. Instead, there are earthen locked in battle with kobolds, and you can help turn the tide of that fight as you work your way through, dealing with some different challenges along the way. Variety, replayability, lots of layers to the experience. Now, so you venture back out into the zone, heading off to a different corner of it, and you come across this cave surrounded by mushrooms. It's known in legends as Fungal Folly. Now, maybe not being the wisest adventurer, that sounds like a great place to enter, so you take a few steps forward. In here, you might find an environment where, whether it's due to unusual ores or whatever in the walls, the rules of gravity are a bit topsy-turvy. And you'll find mushrooms scattered around the cave that you can use as basically jump pads to help navigate the environment, to skip over enemies you want to avoid, to reach high up ledges that you couldn't otherwise get to.
Before he goes further with this, they also mentioned verticality a lot in their raid design. Like, they mentioned the first raid and they showed like a little bit of the map of it. I think they were largely talking about traversing the... I don't think they were talking about vertical bosses, although they've made those in the past, and I'm sure they'll make them in the future. But they were talking about getting to bosses, like, especially because it's like a Nerubian raid. You might take like web slings to take you from like platform to platform, and bosses might be above you rather than like on the ground linear in some other place. So I'm that was really interesting. It seems like they're interested in doing that in these dungeons as well.
You're starting to get the idea, like, this is more the world as toy vibe that we've tried to play with when we're creating outdoor events, outdoor spaces. These are not mechanics you'd necessarily find in a dungeon, but I think the team really is unshackled, is freed to explore a much wider array of gameplay when we're building delves. So let's talk a bit more about the loot. So actually, before we talk about the loot, these are the 12 delves that we currently have planned, scattered throughout the 4 zones, each themed around the ecologies, each themed around the settings that you're going to find. Now, some of the attentive among you may be saying, wait a minute, Morgan's slide said there were 13 delves yesterday. He might be right, but there also might be a secret delve that you have to explore a bit more to discover that awaits you. So yeah, loot. Part of being a seasonal pillar means...
Oh, I heard about this. Yeah, they basically are turning the Great Vault into a PvE only thing. And like, I mean, it kind of makes sense because PvP loot, I'm sure, is going to have their own thing, but also PvP loot has always operated very differently. And I think separating them makes a lot of sense. It means that you don't have to PvP for PvE rewards. It means you don't have to PvE for PvP rewards. They've been doing good at that for a while. But PvP kind of should have had their old thing. That, like, it made the most sense in BFA when like PvP had their own thing, but you felt like you had to do your PvP and Mythic Plus cache. The Great Vault was just a better version of the Mythic Plus cache they put PvP on. Did they mention what they were going to do for PvP in place of it? So complete 1 delve, complete 9 delves for that. Keep listening. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to keep listening. Yeah, you don't need to mention that. Yeah, but we can't. Oh yeah, good. This was a test. You could have just spoiled it. But you didn't. You guys are, dude, you guys are the best, man.
Every week and getting to share in that disappointment
that was a
your
test.
Raiding and dungeon playing brethren have also had the pleasure to enjoy. We just want to make sure you don't feel left out. So you're welcome.
Are you going to get like...
so you'll note, this isn't a delves row, this is a world row. And really that is enshrining these 3...
So I'm assuming the delves can drop gear that probably maybe scales off your eye level, and then maybe these drop. I mean, these have to drop like mythic eye level, right? Similar to like dungeons. Well, there's not like levels like there is here. I'm sure he goes over it. Don't fucking spoil.
World activities, as well as, of course, delves with better rewards from higher difficulty delves. Our thinking in terms of the rewards here, this is all subject to tuning, is that this should reach to, let's say, end boss heroic raid, mythic 10 to 15 type range, accessible just via solo progression. Far better loot than you've ever been able to get before.
Oh, that's really... I'm getting called. What's going on, man? Stop calling me. Does he mean through here it would be mythic plus 15, high level, heroic? Or does he mean like that's what you'll get like in the chest in there? He's probably talking about this. That is actually really interesting. A lot of like really, really high level players are probably going to be like, that's not going to affect me very much. This is basically, and you might do delves for a lot of other reasons too, but it seems like fun might be one of them, hopefully, right? But this seems directly targeting the like mid-core to casual player base. So, and those people, I think, from what I can tell, sound like they feel like they were a little not cared after. So good for them.
World. You'll be able to unlock some of these slots doing select outdoor world activities, as well as, of course, delves.
Max, quick warning: Ian spoils the ending of Grey's Anatomy season 5 in about 2 minutes. What?
With better rewards from higher difficulty.
Dude, I mean, I don't want to get spoiled, but that would just... how he could segue to that would be fucking legendary.
Our thinking in terms of the rewards here, this is all subject to tuning, is that this should reach to, let's say, end boss heroic raid, mythic 10 to 15 type range, accessible just via solo progression. Far better loot than you've ever been able to get before. And now, I'm sure this is, I know this is the delve section, but I'm sure there's folks looking at this and being like, wait a minute, what about the PvP row? Don't worry, we got you. We are removing the PvP row from the vault. We're doing that based largely on feedback that we've heard that randomness and PvP gearing maybe are not the best combination. I know it took a few years to get that message through to us. So the way this is going to work is instead, you're going to get a whole lot more conquest. You're going to gear up at the same rate overall, but you will have complete control over your gearing path, just spending your conquest on the items that you want. With easier catch-up, if you come in late in the season, you don't have to worry about having missed certain vault weeks. Also, if you're someone who PvPs a lot and you raid, you don't have the awkward choice of that raid trinket versus the PvP item that's going to help your arena partner. So,
yep, separating it needed to happen for a while. There's still some issues with separating it, like, for example, like the talent trees. Like, there's absolutely conflicts in the talent trees that make no sense for PvP or PvE because of the other one, right? Like, priests not having kick or dispersion in their class tree is for sure because of PvP. Like, and they can't handle all of that with just PvP talents or the new upcoming hero talents, which they'll talk about. But yeah, I mean, the gearing especially has never really made sense to mix.
Hopefully, good news for everyone. Now, aside from, just power, also, you get silly hats. Nothing more to say here. These just...
Oh my fucking god. How did I not hear about this? This is my favorite part of this whole... I can make my character look dumb as shit. Do you see these mushroom hats? Oh my god. Dude, we need more stupid looking gear in this game, I'll say it. Dude, these ones too look fucking ridiculous.
These are just a few examples of the array of cosmetic rewards that will be exclusive
oh my god, I'm gonna wear that hat.
Reflecting the varied ecologies and environments you're gonna be facing. So, silly hats, World of Warcraft. Less silly, just as, let's say, Mythic Plus players have a mount that they can earn over the course of a given season. This customizable flying mount will be exclusively available through thorough completion of the Delve experience. You'll note the customizability of it. This will be customizable the same way you can customize your current dragon riding drakes at the rostrum, modularly.
That's cool. That's definitely cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like a sign for something to come in general. I wonder if like most like hard to get mounts in this game, like people have been worrying about like recolors and stuff for a while, but like every now and then they'll make a really cool mount that's hard to obtain, either like a gladiator mount or I guess like this is delves are an endgame pillar, like I said, right? So like a delve mount or a Mythic Plus rating mount or a Mythic end boss mount. What would be nice is, doing this more for all of those. I think having like those mounts stand out by being customizable and just having this be like a recurring feature could be really cool.
Pretty cool. I love our artists. Okay.
Oh, I'm really interested about Warbands.
Warbands.
I'm really interested about Warbands. I mean, the idea sounds really cool, but I know how Warbands... There's something kind of like Warbands in Lost Ark, and I'm sure he's going to explain that later, how I'm sure it's different. But, like, Lost Ark has a really, really unfortunate, like, thing where you need to, like, play a bunch of characters to juice up your main. But Albo, that's like a blood-sucking mobile gacha game, basically. So, like, totally, totally different. But hopefully we're seeing all dubs from Warband. And it starts with the letter W, too, which is a good sign. Is he going to spoil Grey's Anatomy? Or did you make... You made that up, right?
I feel like I could
It's
probably
been
just
2
save
minutes.
10 minutes this panel by just saying account-wide everything and like just click through the next slides. But it kind of that. I don't know if you guys know this, but turns out y'all play a lot of alts. I'm sure that actually the number of characters per person in this room in particular is like some insane average. But the average WoW player today plays multiple characters.
That's surprising to me, actually.
Two-thirds of players who have a level 70 have multiple level 70s.
Wow, I would not have... Well, okay, I would have guessed that. Like, basically, I've always thought that, like, people always talk about alt stuff, and I wonder how many people in the game actually don't have alts, but, like, actively play each one of them every season. And I don't mean, like, a little bit. I mean, like, almost as much as their main character. I think that is, like, pretty minimal. But, like, people are much more like one-character Andes that have some alts. But I don't think he's wrong.
Players have 3 or more. Most people are playing multiple characters a week. And that's not something the game, you know, it's no secret, has always done the best job of supporting. Part of that is because World of Warcraft 20 years ago was built with very different assumptions. And I both mean design-wise, but actually engineering-wise as well. The infrastructure and the architecture that was built. Back then, it took hundreds of hours to level a single character, of course, and playing alt seriously, far from the norm. But we've kind of inherited, we're still working with, we have been working with those foundations to this day. And so when we get requests for them, when we talk about alt friendliness, we try to do it, but we're often working against, we're swimming upstream, given the underpinnings of a system that were never designed for this. And that's why you get some, frankly, pretty clunky solutions. Like, well, if you want to transfer this currency to your alt, go to a vendor and spend some to buy a different box that contains account-bound currency that you can then mail to yourself, log out, log back in, take the box out of your mailbox, and open it on your alt. Congratulations, you have moved 300 supplies.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it sounds pretty bad.
Elegant
Guys,
design.
it's turned up all the way. I hear you. You got to deal with it.
And ladies and gentlemen.
Actually, wait. I think I can help you out. I think I have a little thing for that.
What if we didn't have to do that? So at its core, Warbands is, what if we just rebuilt those foundations and created a new future, both for the things we want to offer today and the things we'll be able to in the future, so we're not fighting against the nature of the system, but instead it complements what we want to do. Now the focus here is really making it convenient, removing barriers, removing awkwardness in playing alts. We don't want to actively necessarily encourage it. People already want to do it if they do it. One thing the system is not going to be is something that awards you power or makes your main more effective because you have done things on other characters or anything along those lines.
God fucking bless America.
If you want to play alts, do so. If you just love focusing on a single character, that shouldn't feel wrong either. Now let's talk about some examples. Okay, so I'm going to run through these pretty quickly. They're mostly fairly straightforward. It's a bank. It's an account-wide bank. Thankfully, hopefully, you should never again have to mail something to yourself. You also might notice, and so this is giant, lots of storage.
That is actually good,
tabs
though.
That can be purchased on the right-hand side, so multiple tabs of these. You can organize them as you want. The very observant, the eagle-eyed, will notice a little checkbox mentioning reagents. If you deposit reagents,
I just want to point out that I did notice that before he said it.
Here, you can craft from the account-wide storage on any of your characters. Next up, maybe a little new thing. Something that you might put in this account-wide storage are the ability we will now have to create war-bound items that are war-bound until equipped. You might get an item that you can't sell in the auction house or trade, but that you can give to any of your other characters for their use.
That's crazy. That's probably the best thing about it. The only thing, I wonder where they're going to drop, though, because, like, right now you have an idea of where things drop and if they're soulbound or, like, bind on equip or something. Like, you know what that's like to see something soulbound. I wonder how many things that are currently soulbound will be warbound. Like, you know what would be fucking awesome, by the way, is if when you got, like, a piece of raid gear or something, or, like, something in your vault, imagine you have an exact item or something of that eye level, and if they're not max level, it just becomes like the first time you loot a 577 dagger, it's soulbound, but the second time it's warbound, and that would be true for like every thing. But then that would be insanely good for gearing your alt. Holy fuck, that would have solved so many problems this expansion. The only thing that could be kind of weird though is he mentions that you don't need to like level up a bunch of characters to stop PP laughing. I know he explains it more. I'm just gonna let me cook for a second. The only thing is that you could have a bunch of alts, and if warbound stuff is actually good, you actually would be incentivized to have multiple characters to get more warbound things, so you could give it to your main. But we'll see.
These items would drop as bonus personal loot from doing a variety of content. They would drop at a slightly lower item level than what that content would normally give you. Again, we want to make sure the right way to play is not, playing on multiple characters to funnel loot to your main to gear up your main faster, but just easy potential hand-me-downs, ways of getting an alt caught up, maybe even an excuse to level an alt if you get a really cool item for a class that you haven't had a chance to get up yet. So just an extra layer here, hopefully, making it easier than ever to progress, to accomplish your goals on multiple characters. All right, now quick rundown of some of the other integrations we have planned. Transmog. Transmog has always been, it's been for a long time an account-wide collection. Key thing here now that really it is being acquired by your warband, that means that now if you were running, let's say, Ulduar on your mage and a pair of plate shoulders drop, you can still add those plate shoulders to your warband collection.
Damn. Oh, did you guys get ads? I'll wait. BlizzCon recap? Bro, you weren't at BlizzCon. What is he cooking? He was there? What the fuck? That's crazy. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, self-explanatory. And then, if you log on your warrior later, your warrior can equip them, you're good to go. Hopefully you don't need to feel like you need to refarm the same stuff on as many different armor types anymore. Reputations, again, fairly straightforward. In War Within, reputations and renowns will work account-wide. We want to make this as retroactive as possible. That will take some work over time. We're probably going to start with Dragonflight renowns as a focus and a priority and work our way backwards.
Okay.
But going forward, we want progress earned on reputations to not really matter which character you're doing it on. At the end of the day, it's the same content, it's the same experience. If you've gained access to some perk or some recipe, having to re-earn it, not terribly compelling.
Every character will share transmog. Let's go.
Here's a really light example, a simple one, just flight paths. As you explore the world, you learn flight paths, you discover flight paths. Is it terribly compelling to have to go back to a spot that you've already been to in multiple characters just to learn a flight path for the 4th time? No. If you have a flight path network unlocked, you have that unlocked across your warband
Yeah,
going
fine.
forward.
Yeah.
And here's an example of something new, just delves. An example of how having this as a foundation means that we can build new systems to inherently work at an account-wide level, just kind of as part of their DNA. As you are advancing Bran as a companion, as you are empowering him, as you're customizing him, again, logging on to a different character and going back to having a weaker Bran that doesn't offer the tools.
Guys, do not... Okay, I know he said systems, but it's been a while. Systems doesn't necessarily mean bad immediately. It should be like systems... Is there something in between Gladge and Madge? Like, that's where we're at with systems right now. We haven't had a lot of bad... Like, we're waiting for... What is that? Midge? Is there like a Midge? Okage? Susch? All I'm saying is it used to be Systems Madge. It's not Systems Gladge, but it's somewhere in the middle, okay? Let's let them cook for a second.
That you've grown accustomed to, that's more frustrating than fun to re-earn those things. Let's make that progression inherently warband level, inherently account-wide. And achievements. We've had account-wide achievements for a long time. No secret, they have the little blue bar over them, indicating that they function at an account-wide level. What Warbands allows us to do is kind of invert that paradigm and change the vast majority of our achievements to be account-wide, to have that actually be the new default. So if you do part of this PvP or crafting or other achievement on one character, part of it on another, your warband can earn the achievement.
They're not clapping yet. Why are they not clapping? This is a sick change.
Again, you the player are doing the thing.
I feel like that's one of the bigger things they've said. That's like way better.
Oh yeah, and then this...
Let's hold on a second. Okay, so like your character select screen will just see your dudes. This is very Lost Ark, yeah. They're like sitting around a fire. Well, you have to choose who's at your camp? Oh, I guess you probably like just place your favorite characters there or something. Bro, could you imagine Shark and like Rizzy Glizzy hanging out together? just looking dumb as shit. Oh, dude, by the way, my Warband picture is going to be fucking insane. It is going to look so fucking funny.
To kind of signal this shift up front, there's no like mechanical functionality here, but just in terms of presentation, what you'll see when you log into World of Warcraft with multiple characters.
Wait, this is living rent-free in my head. One second. Hey, you little bitch. You were at BlizzCon? Respond. Is he gonna text in my face? Bro.
Huh? Matt? Oh?
What?
You were at BlizzCon? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was there. I was there for, an hour? No, 2 hours. 2 hours. I was at BlizzCon for 2 hours. I thought the finals would be gone by the time I was back. And here we are, ready to go.
Dude, I don't know how to process this information. That's insane. I hadn't seen him since I was at his house a while ago, and then we hadn't been able to, like, play games together recently. He even messaged me, and he was like, you know, just like, yo, do we do this or whatever? And then now he's just fucking just showing up to places I'm clearly at and not even saying shit. I'm about to fucking pop off. I'm gonna pop.
Selection of your favorite.
No, I'm not getting dry-kneed.
Characters huddled around.
You don't even know what that means.
Another setting. You'll still have your full list accessible, but we want to make it clear that like you, the player, have this cast of characters that if you want to dress them all up in consistent transmogs, go wild. One thing you might note here, if you're very eagle-eyed, also by the way, if you're very eagle-eyed, don't read too much into things like the evoker wearing leather. That's just, it's internal mock-ups. We're not changing anything crazy there. Sorry. But you will note that the evoker is level 13. That's going to be a thing that's possible because they'll start at level 10. But because Dragonflight's going to be the new leveling expansion, by the way, going forward.
Wait, how does that work? I thought you can level as any expansion, right? Isn't that like that chromey shit? Oh, for new players. Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, that has like doesn't matter at all.
One thing you might notice is there isn't really much here about realm selection. Warbands are a realm agnostic.
Dude, you know, like if new players, whether they're doing like Dragonflight or whatever other expansion, it just like it's so not important. Like you think about that all the time because there's so much negativity. Like, why is this expansion the best leveling path? Do you know what I was doing the other day? It was so jarring. I was talking to that Mighty Teapot guy, and he's like a Guild Wars 2 player, and he just started doing like WoW this patch, like big time. He got like 3600 IO, got cutting edge recently. Loves playing the game, playing it all the time. Really great talk with him. And was something that I found really funny as I was asking him how he felt about Mythic Plus. And usually if you ask anyone else, they're like, this is the worst season ever. This meta's the fucking worst. Because like when you're playing WoW, all you can think about as a longtime player is like really negative things and comparing it to like everything that's happened beforehand. But you forget how it is for new players when they're just playing WoW for the first time and having fun. And I was expecting Mighty Teapot to be like, yeah, you know, all the normal talking points. Yeah, it would be good, but this meta's like super shit or whatever. And he was just like, yeah, this game's really fun. It's just like really short to the point. And you're like, yeah, it's weird. It actually is possible for people to just like play the game and just have fun. And it's just that simple. And a lot of the other stuff is just like, you know, you just have like such a long and strenuous relationship with the game.
Faction agnostic feature. You will just see all your characters here. If they're on different servers, we'll make it clear that they're on different servers. But you shouldn't have to like go to the change realm screen and swap around. They're just all here. Okay, hero talents. So, at their core, this is a chance for us, as we continue to evolve and advance our class system, to explore some deeper class fantasies, to look at iconic archetypes like the Farseer, the Dark
love me
Ranger,
some
the
class
Mountain
fantasy.
King, or others, often inspired by major heroes in the Warcraft universe, other times by fantasies that we've heard are really resonant with players, and focus the continued expansion of our classes in that space. Now,
dude, he's spam messaging me now. I'm just gonna ghost him. He's fucking full. Yeah, I wasn't there long, man. Like 2 hours max. I didn't have time. I asked around for you too, but you didn't message me though. I'm actually ghosting him. I'm actually ghosting him. I fucking asked around. Guys, does anyone know where Max is, bro? You could have just fucking. That is so bullshit.
Flexible system.
I can't believe he's saying this to me.
Current talents and specs.
He said, "Cause you wake up late."
Nothing like covenants or anything like that.
I swear to God. Look at this. I'm leaking DMs. He said, "I asked around for you too." What does that mean? What does that mean?
Anytime you could change your talents today.
But I did try to find you. He's so full of shit.
You can swap around your hero talents. They're just talents.
I've never been this
Some of our
gaslit
goals
in
here,
my
of course,
life.
We want to offer progression, but we want to do so, frankly, while managing complexity to a certain extent. When we started planning for War Within, we knew, all right, we're going to raise the level cap by 10. 10 new levels means 10 new talent points.
Literally, it's on S-Fan's stream. Where is this stream? Oh, here it is. Wait, what do you mean I was late? I was in this chair.
Oh, thank you.
I was in this chair before him. All right, let's see if he's... Our entire friendship hinges on whether he lied to me about this.
Do you know if there's more streamer areas? Like across, maybe?
There's some on the other side.
I'm curious. I want to find Max.
All right, it's all good. It's all good. But he still said, bro, I was there for 2 hours. I was asking around for you too. Okay, no, it's good. It's good. I checked the tape. You're good, but you're on watch, buddy. All right, back to the thing.
The kind of default option for us would have been to take the existing class and spec trees and just add a couple more rows to each of them.
You're on the last
add new
straw,
points
they
to
say.
spend. But we've been down that path before. We know exactly where that leads 15 years ago. There's a tremendous amount, there's an insane amount of like multiplicative combinatoric complexity from adding those additional options. And it also destroys some carefully constructed choices that are really successful that we've just built up in Dragonflight today, where you can't quite have all of these things and need to, pick one or the other. Suddenly,
All right, we'll wait for ads. Wait, 1 second. Let me find some applause so I can say something epic.
when you can get all of them, it can lead towards homogeneity as well. So this...
Is that a word? Homogenization, homogeneity? Homogeneity. It is a word. Let's go, Ian. Holy shit. Justin, haha, I didn't even know Max was there till I was leaving, haha. Bro, what do you fucking think? That's like my convention. I was like the fucking man. What do you mean? I had security guards tackling people for no reason. No, that would have been shit. That would have been fucking crazy, though. Why are you flexing on me? Yeah, he asked if he wanted to come back and play. I actually think 10.2 probably would... I think the 10.2 raid is like absolutely fucking goated, but probably a next expansion angle, honestly. Because of the what is it? The Season of Discovery is coming out, right? I'll see you around your... Yep, your...
approach allows us to both explore
Ads
deeper
are over.
class fantasy while focusing the decision space in a way that offers power without that excessive complexity. So the way it's generally going to look is a third talent tree. Again, as mentioned yesterday, at the center of your screen, you have class, you have talent, and in the middle, you have hero talents. You'll note, so there are 10 nodes. There's an initial node that you get as a starter node at the top that you'll get initially.
I'm so interested in this. Before he gets into hero talents, I figured they had to do something like this because, well, a couple reasons, but the number one being, let's just say they needed something new in a new expansion, right? And they've done this before with talents where like they'll just like add rows. So like let's just say they just expanded the talent tree. That would throw away the entire idea of them spending this expansion working on the evergreen talent system. Like all the revamps and stuff to make these trees make more sense and be better, all of that work and time balancing it, all of that work goes out the window and you just add talents, right? It becomes like a big problem. So them doing this hero talent thing is like one of the cooler ways they could have done that, because they do need to add things, right? You can't just have these talent trees just be the same forever, right? And I think the thing that I'm really interested in is the fact that tanks and DPS can be the same subclass. I initially was a little bit pessimistic on it because it just looked like, oh, okay, I guess you can just like AoE Stormbolt now, and you can, like, that's cool. Like, okay, both Fury and Proc and AoE Stormbolt, that's sick. But like that's like that's probably one of these things. And also I assume the reason that Druid has 3 rows is because of the whole, like, there's like 4 specs. We'll see some examples.
71, and then 10 more nodes to unlock. You will get all of them on the way to 80. At level 80, you will have this fully unlocked, similar to Legion artifacts, let's say. So you don't have to agonize over, where you're placing any choice along the way. Now, the choices that you will make are which hero spec do you want active, and also there will be choice nodes within the trees, just as the class trees and the talent and the spec trees currently have, which you can toggle, adding quite a few permutations to the system as a whole. If you want, as a kind of simpler collapsed view, once you've hit max level, you can just...
Wait, you guys, you're saying you get all the points plus choice nodes? You get everything here? And this is where you choose the hero class? The top thing? So like you'll click this and you can choose the ones available? God damn. Wow, so these are actually going to feel like meaningfully different. Okay, well then I go back to my initial thing before I overthought it, I guess. The fact that you can have like a Prot Warrior be the like tanky subclass, but then you realize you don't really need it for that key or for that dungeon, and you go like the damage doing Prot Warrior thing. Yeah, it's like almost like Ascendancies, yeah. I am unreasonably excited for that. That is fucking insane. That could be like some of the most game-changing shit they've done in a
trees currently
long
have,
time.
which you can toggle, adding quite
I need to see an example, and hopefully they do this. I want to like look at just one subclass, and I want to see the potential power impact of all the things they chose.
permutations of the system as a whole. If you want, as a kind of simpler collapsed view, once you've hit max level, you can just condense it down to only show the choice nodes for easy swapping back and forth to customize your spec for whatever.
Oh, that's good.
activity
I mean, an
you're setting
add-on
out
would have
to
just
do.
done that most likely.
Now, I want to take a little bit of time to quickly walk through a couple of trees to give a sense of the sorts of things you might find in here. All of this is subject to change, all subject to iteration and the extensive feedback we know we're going to get. I'm going to use druids a lot as an example here. Going to focus on the case of a balanced druid. Part of why the team starts
Wait, why are they? They got some goddamn moonkins in the
starts with
chat?
druids is because y'all are complicated. We figure
Facts.
there's 4 specs, 3 roles. We figure let's try some of the hardest cases first when proving out a design. It's nothing against the mages, warlocks, paladins, etc. But there's a reason why you probably tend to see more druid examples than other classes, because we figure if we can make it work for druids, the rest will be okay. The 2 options available to a balanced druid are this Keeper of the Grove tree and Elun's Chosen. Keeper of the Grove is available to balance and restoration. Elun's Chosen is available to balance and guardian. The former focuses on calling the forest to your aid on summoned treants and augmenting their abilities and what using that cooldown means for your gameplay. Elun's Chosen focuses on augmenting your lunar abilities, many of the arcane damage, moon-themed abilities for both specs. Let's look at the Keeper of the Grove tree first. The first node that you're going to get as you just
Okay.
opt in is just kind of a baseline improvement to your throughput while treants are out across the board. This just kind of emphasizes thematically what this tree is about and makes pushing that button, having the treants out, more important to you in every regard. Some of the nodes in these trees are just going to be simple, straightforward.
Your treants cast Moonfire on nearby targets at once every 6 seconds. Your max mana is increased by 5%. Your max astral power is increased by 20.
Passives. Not everything is going to double and triple down on the same treant ability. Some will, like this, regardless of what spec you are, make your treants.
You know, it'd be sick too, is if there was like some kind of weekly lockout cooldown from swapping between the 2 hero talents to make the decision to be a Keeper of the Grove a lot more meaningful.
Add additional damage. Oh, by the way, if anyone's worried, wait a minute, but what about the auto taunt?
And as stupid as that sounds, they actually did that with Covenants.
That's a mess in
which
dungeons. We'll let you
is
off that.
fucking crazy.
Don't worry. Or passives could just augment your abilities, your resource pool, and just make you a better druid. An example of choice node. Again, this can be about doubling down on and
This is already crazy. So the whole like them casting Moonfire, that might just be like a piss amount of your damage, like just pretty minor. But as soon as you start doing max astral power so you can pull more, you're gonna like when you're not Keeper of the Grove, you're probably going to have noticeably less astral power generation because of this like passive. This is like really impactful. So you have to choose between astral power generation or just flat Starfall Star Surge generation or healing.
Getting more out of having the treants active. Or
Holy
maybe you really
moly.
don't want all of your eggs in that basket. Even though you are going into this tree, you want the treants to be important to you. You don't want 100% of your throughput to be focused in that window. You'd rather just have some baseline improvements to all of your abilities, or to some of your core abilities. This is one of the simpler choices available. The idea is 4 different opportunities to nudge your gameplay in one direction or another within this tree. A capstone talent, again, is often likely to double down on and amplify.
Give the benefits of Harmony of the Grove. Will they'll persist for 10 seconds after your trance expire. So each one will give you 3% damage, and then this will exist for 10% after for half. Oh, sorry. Benefits of the top thing last for 10 seconds after for half. I just don't know how many forces. Oh, I guess like for Moonkin, it's just like pressing the actual button, right? But then the healers are now like Grove Guardian based, right? I don't know exactly how that works. That one seems a little bit less cool.
What the initial
honestly.
point was.
And I'm sure some of these
Just
are utility.
Reinforcing that having the treants out is going to be a peak, a spike in your potential, something that you're going to plan around, and just amplify the overall benefits that you're achieving from that. Pivoting to Elun's Chosen. Again, this is lunar themed and shared with Guardian Druids. So the first point here is going to call out 3 specific signature abilities.
Fucking Lunar Beam.
2 balance, 1 Guardian, and make them meaningfully more impactful to your gameplay.
For what it's worth, though, I wish that Lunar Beam was good. Like, Lunar Beam has only ever been bad because it was, like, tuned really shit. But, like, I think Guardian Druids having a burst cooldown button would be sick. And if it leeches 10% and it's doing hella damage, it'll actually feel really good for a tank,
If you're a
too.
Guardian Druid, for example, you might read this and realize that, yeah, like Lunar Beam is going to become a pretty powerful defensive cooldown, especially in dungeons. You have a big pull going on. You're leeching a lot of damage back.
It would have to be buffed massively, but
This
yeah.
is now something that you can really count on and plan around as you approach your gameplay.
Oh, wait. Oh, it's also... Oh, no, you're right. It is 10% of all damage dealt. Yeah, it's not just Lunar Beam damage. I mean, Lunar Beam still stinks for sure.
To planning and throughput in your rotation.
There's no reason why Lunar Beam should not be a massive burst of damage.
A couple of these things that we're modifying may be deeper optional talents in your existing spec trees. We also, where we can, want to offer ways to make sure that you can trigger those effects even if you don't have the baseline talent, though you'll probably want to as well. So this talent just has Fury of Elune triggered as you're doing your regular rotation when you Moonfire, both just naturally, it's a powerful effect that's going to fire more frequently, but also to the extent that the rest of the Elune's chosen tree is tying into it, you'll get those benefits as well. A couple of more passive examples here. Again, just doubling down on magnifying your arcane lunar throughput, and a final capstone ability for this tree that is further reinforcing these core abilities that have already been augmented. We'll leave this slide up for a while. These are our current plans for all 39 of the hero specs, so one per current specialization.
Let's take a look at this for a second. Let's look at some that are noticeably awesome. Both the Demon Hunter ones are pretty mid. Rider of the Apocalypse goes insane. Deathbringer goes insane. All the Druid ones are fine. Scale Commander's all right. Dark Ranger is one of those words that's like what's the Twitch emote? When people were like, "Oh my God, Arcane was so good." What is it? Bat Chest. It's Bat Chest. Yeah, Dark Ranger's a big Bat Chest one. And then, but I mean, yeah, it sounds cool. Pack Leader is sick. That'll be BM in survival, right? Mage, Spellslinger's sick. That's fine. Master of Harmony, Conduit of the Soul. Yo, we should make a tier list of cool hero spec names. That sounds fun. Paladin, Herald of the Sun. Priest, Archon is sick. Rogue, Deathstalker, that's cool. Shaman, Stormbringer, Soul Harvester, Diabolist. Is that how that's said? Diabolist? Wait, Warrior has Colossus and Slayer. Dude, Slayer's probably Fury in Arms, right? That's fucking sick. Diabolist is what it's called? Sick. Bro, I'm only playing Slayer. All right, let's fucking go.
Community feedback on all of these, which are exciting, which are most resonant, which sound, frankly, maybe a bit lame.
So if someone wants to make a tier maker, I'm not going to do this, but if someone ends up doing it where they just have them all written out in a tier list thing.
Are there any that you hoped you'd see on here that you're not seeing on here? We are, well underway building these out, but it's definitely early enough for us to pivot on a lot of these if there's something the community is really excited about. I want to triple super underscore, the example talents I just gave are work in progress, very subject to change. Probably no part of the game is more, prone to iteration. And for no part of the game is the community input more essential than class design, spec design. To that end, when we move into our alpha, probably in the spring, we want to have as many, if not all of these hero specs playable from the start, so that we have the entire alpha and beta window to iterate on them, to replace the things that aren't working, to dial them all in.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a lot of balance, it looks like.
Everyone's going to be excited about what they're
doing. The good news is it won't be nearly as hard to do as the talent trees this expansion. But I imagine what they're also going to do over the next year is finish revamping most of the class and spec trees that could still use a lot of work. But just the sheer amount, the difference of introducing 13 class trees and 39 spec trees at the same time with the amount of nodes that are on them versus the amount of things that are on the hero shit, that's it's just infinitely easier, but I'm sure it'll take a long time.
It's a long road ahead. We can't wait to share that journey with you and really just collaborate, discuss back and forth every step of the way. All right. Now some other stuff. Some you've heard about, some you haven't. First off, Aladrace, you get to be an Earthen.
I don't really care about this.
Awesome blinged out dwarves, or
unless
maybe
they
not
say
so
what its racial
blinged
is.
out if you want to customize them differently. These are going to be earned just by playing through the War Within campaign fully. There's no rep to grind here, nothing else beyond that. It's you meeting.
I'm going to skip a little bit, yeah.
13. No.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Dynamic Flight.
All right, Dynamic Flight.
Yep, makes sense. It was pretty obvious as soon as they announced dragon riding that it would never you'd never be able to go back to not having it. You could have it be an option, but it just absolutely dunks on regular flying.
So it was obvious very early on in Dragonflight, probably before Dragonflight even released in beta, that we could never go back to how it used to be.
Well,
honestly, we hope that would be the outcome. We hope the feedback would be, this is so awesome. We just want this to be how flying works
big pre-watched
forever.
energy.
But we immediately began, making plans for what that would mean, because it's the only way. It's the only way to go. And so, dragon riding is going to become the default. No longer just dragons, but dynamic flight now in War Within and beyond. We want to make sure. Oh, weird. I meant to have 2 mounts here, but I only see Ashes on the right. But anyway. The key point being...
That was... I was about to say that was so corny, but it was so corny that it is actually kind of funny.
We want to expand this to the broader array of mounts that you have available. I think the only downside of dragon riding as it exists today is that you don't have much reason to use so many of the mounts that are your favorites visually, aesthetically, that you've earned and done so much to collect. You want to make sure that as much of your collection is viable as possible. So not every single flying mount is going to be able to support dynamic flight. There's some animation logistics to work with there, but as many as we can. It's a 3-digit number. We want a very wide array of mounts being able to just fly the way you've always enjoyed with your dragon.
I feel like they have to do all the iconic ones. Like all the really, really iconic rare mounts from every raid, especially from for a long time, need to be able to be used. Most of them, the whole 3 digits thing, there's a ton of mounts where I don't think, they don't have to do all, almost 1,000 mounts now. You could definitely do, there's some that are just, whatever, And
just to clarify, this is the future of flying. So everywhere that you can fly today, you'll be able to dynamically fly or dragon ride.
Yeah, of course.
In fact, not just in the War Within, a little sneak peek, I think in our upcoming 10.2.5 update, you'll be able to dragon ride in Eastern Kingdoms, Kalimdor, Northrend, Outland, you name it.
Oh, wow, okay. That is very huge. I was just about to say, I really thought at the beginning of Dragonflight they were going to let us do it mid-expansion, but it turns out for almost a year they will, or 8 months or so. Yeah. And as a special announcement, everyone in the crowd is getting their own McDonald's franchise. Yes, yes, yes!
We also understand there are some folks, for accessibility reasons, personal preference reasons, maybe you just like being able to AFK in midair, that dragon riding isn't your favorite. We don't want to take anything away. We want to let all these mounts that can currently do the old school flying mode toggle between dragon riding or let's call it TBC flying. Up to you, whatever you prefer. And again, to be clear, dynamic flight will be available from the very start when you go to Kazalgar on the Isle of Dorn, just as it was in Dragonflight. Old school TBC flying, Pathfinder style, will not be available right away, but it will be unlocked shortly after reaching max level with no reputation grind requirements. Just play through the campaign, explore the continents, then you can fly that way as well. The existing dragon riding glyph system in the Dragon Isles, we want to pivot that to a bit more of something that's evergreen. Some of those unlocked traits may change to only work within the Dragon Isles. Others that are more essential to just the experience feeling good, like vigor increases, regenerates, the active abilities, are just going to be things that you will inherently get as you earn dynamic flight and level up naturally. We don't want down the line players to feel like they have to go back to an old expansion and fly around and collect a bunch of glyphs just to be able to explore the new expansion. And in that vein, this is going to be the new default for leveling players. I mentioned earlier, when War Within comes out, instead of BFA, Dragonflight will be the new leveling experience that you merge into as a new player after you leave Exile's Reach.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially because
you're going to get
mounting.
dragon riding very early in that experience. As you just level up, gain player levels, you will improve your flight ability and get all the vigor perks and everything else that everyone has come to expect. And that's just going to be how the game works as a baseline. This is what flight is now.
Yeah! Yeah! All right, what's next? It's probably near the end here.
Mock-up of the layout.
Oh, we can skip this.
This look. I mentioned better chipping away at
interface
updating
updates.
different pieces of the UI to be more streamlined, better reflective of the modern gameplay experience. So just a couple of examples here. So the spellbook, we are looking to modernize, update, actually make use of more than like a 1024 by 768 monitor resolution.
Yeah, why haven't they done this already? I never thought about that. So I guess it maybe isn't that big of a deal. But like, holy shit, this looks so much better. And it has a fucking search bar too.
Ideally, you're not going to have to flip through multiple pages to find some ability that's not on your action bars. Also, we're combining this with our talent screen. If you look at the tabs at the bottom, you have spec, talents, and spells all in one place. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for all the things that your character has available, rather than having two separate windows that you need to move.
Oh yeah, hide passives. Get that passive shit the fuck out of here. Get it out.
Some light updates here. I think improving the overall aesthetic of the quest log, the quest window. If this is harder to show off just in a single screenshot, but we are adding a bunch of filters to allow you to hide and show different objectives, to see more quests available at once, to filter your log for the things you care about most. We also have a full pass in progress on our quest iconography to make it easier to differentiate between daily and weekly quests and remove our reliance on just shades of color as much as we do, which really it is a color blindness issue for the range of quest bangs where the only difference is what color it is. And again, this is just a couple of examples of ongoing efforts. This is a project that will never be done. We're just going to continue improving and updating different aspects of the UI as we go. So this one basically speaks for itself. I've mentioned earlier, your warband is a cross-realm construct. Increasingly, so many of the activities that players engage in socially span multiple realms. You have a raid group, you have a Mythic Plus group that you run with, group that you PvP with, but you can't be in the same guild together, not any longer. That's a thing that will change when War Within comes out. Apply, recruit, server shouldn't matter when it comes to joining a guild, when it comes to being in a guild, when it comes to accessing the perks of being in a guild.
Very good. Very good.
And people may be wondering, wait a minute, what does that mean if now guilds are cross-realm? What about Mythic raiding? If your guild is cross-realm and your guild wants to raid Mythic...
we've been talking about this for years. This is so necessary. This not being a thing kills so much early Mythic alone in the beginning of seasons, where like people would be making groups for the first few things, but it's harder to fill groups on certain realms. It's just going to be so much more common now. Now the big eyesore is... holy shit, the Mythic lockout is just ancient as fuck and has to be gone. It's such a problem. And it's like the only thing remaining that is just totally fucked.
You should be able to do that day one. So no more realm restrictions there. The Hall of Fame will still exist, just kind of as a memorial of accomplishment, but it's not going to be tied to unlocking anything anymore. That's just there day one. And really, just philosophically, this is another step towards one of our goals of just tearing down barriers, making the game as social as possible, making it as easy as possible to play with who you want to play with, regardless of your server, regardless of your faction. As much as possible, if you want to play WoW with somebody, let's make that happen. So that brings us to the end of this whirlwind tour / deep dive of War Within features. I know there's still a bunch of questions, a bunch more information to share. Can't wait to do that in the coming days and weeks. But to begin, I'd like to invite everybody, if you have questions, if you're here at BlizzCon, go to the Darkmoon Fair in Hall D. You can drop off questions there. If you're going online,
this is
you can
interesting.
go to the WoW or WoW Classic subreddits or our official forums and either ask your questions there or upvote others. This coming week,
we'll stream the answers next week. Wait, when is that going to be? They linked the wrong subreddit? Oh, that's good. No mention of Mythic Plus. I mean, I'm sure they're going to improve Mythic Plus. I mean, clearly their focus is on Delves. Like, in a way, them releasing Delves is like back when they released Mythic Plus, right? It's like a new end game thing. Or at least that's their idea. And it's targeted at a very specific part of the player base. That doesn't mean they're not going to work on... I mean, I imagine there's going to be tremendous Mythic Plus changes next expansion. In fact, what I'd be willing to bet is while we're going to get a Fated season in this expansion, which I guess we could have guessed, I bet they're going to experiment just like they did last time. They're experimenting in the last Fated season led us to our current upgrade system, which is like universally really good. I bet they're going to definitely experiment in that season with like new expansion Mythic Plus stuff.
When we get back to the office, we're going to huddle, review the top questions, and record streams for both Classic and for War Within, addressing the top questions to try to get as much information out there as possible.
Woohoo! Yeah!
Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to begin this journey together with you. Can't wait for the War Within. Enjoy the rest of BlizzCon. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. I love you all.
Damn, what a banger exit. I love you all. Dude, you should have dropped the mic. That'd be crazy. All right, that's cool. And then there was like an interview too. Season of Discovery does seem really cool. Seems like really, really crazy and wacky. So I'm assuming that'll be fun. I wonder about the replayability of that over time. Like, I think when people were talking about Classic Plus, they were talking about like new like kind of content in Classic. And I know they're doing that like 10-man dungeon. A lot of people were playtesting that this weekend at BlizzCon. Wait, couldn't you play it from home too? Is that what someone said? I think they said that, maybe not. I wonder what the future of that is. They said they will do new content eventually. Yeah, I think the bit is it sounds like this is kind of beta for that. But I wonder how long it's going to take for that. Because I do think like the replay, even if classes are different, the replayability of that, I'm not sure. But I mean, like, I don't know. People fucking love Classic. Do you send that all the way through to like Wrath again? Or like do you just keep doing only Classic? Yeah, who knows? Either way, definitely cool. It does seem like they threw all their eggs in the retail basket though. All runes in the BlizzCon demo. Oh wait, I would kind of want to look at that. I bet that was fun. BlizzCon 2023 roundup. Everything you know. No, where's the? Oh, never mind. The interview is up here. No, that was the classic one. Where's the? Is it this one? None of this stuff matters to me. None of this stuff matters. This looks like a story interview. Oh no, here we go. So Delsby's short form content similar to Islands. You mean the Icy Veins one? Oh, maybe. What kind of progression other than Bran is there? Difficulty levels. Oh, so there's like, okay. So it'll be like Mythic Plus. You'll be doing a Delve plus 15. Not like in exact terms. And it probably has a cap. I assume it's probably not going to infinitely scale. I mean, it kind of has to scale through eye level, maybe Bran's progression level. I'll look at the Icy Veins one in a second. Top end Delve loot will equal plus 15 loot, I think they said. I'm not talking about loot, I'm talking about difficulty. Maybe it is the Icy Veins interview people are talking about. Where is this? Oh, here we go. Icy Veins BlizzCon 2023 interview with game director Ian Hazacostas. Is it this? What? This is it? Well, okay. Okay. I mean, I guess we'll read this. Way less interesting, but whatever. Interview highlights. The WoW team is happy with the new talent system has panned out. It offers more customization and granularity. Correct. Good. That's good. But I feel like in their words is very, very important. Guys, I did click on source. I did. That doesn't take you to the interview, right? Oh, wait, maybe it's here. Nope. God damn. More updates to class and specs are planned, including talent pruning and adding more interesting options. Very obvious. Most hero talents will be passive to avoid button blow. There will be some active abilities where they make sense. This is fine. People think the word passive means, you know, that like it's not interesting, but like there are passives that are just as interesting as on uses. That doesn't matter at all. Like anger management is a passive, and anger management's like fucking insane, you know? Like you could have absolutely like class changing things that don't have to be buttons. Makes sense. Delves will have a seasonal currency to avoid player burnout with a mix of reward types. The more lucrative rewards limited. Yep, we heard about that. Future UI improvements will focus on the guild UI and the friend system. Sure. The devs are mindful of the balance between gear from PvE and PvP. They want to avoid forcing players into playstyles they don't prefer. Ian explains feature development is a collaborative process with ideas coming from the team rather than top-down directives. Yep. No plans for classic time walking. Classic dungeons are considered too simple for modern players, which is why time walking starts with BC. The team plans to review class distribution of tier tokens to make it more fair. Oh, that's interesting. What does that... See, Dude, this is so dog shit. Why would they not post their interview? The context of what he says, I know, is 100 times more interesting than this with examples, too. This is so trash. With the Mythic Plus rotation changing every season, the need for seasonal affix has diminished, but the team is open to community feedback. Yeah, the community feedback is Mythic Plus dungeons are, like, untouchably at their best with good seasonal affixes, but that doesn't have to be seasonal. It could just be a change on how affixes are done. There's been good ones in the past, but sometimes when seasonal affixes are bad, it like ruins it. But I don't know. The upside is way too good to just not do them. I don't know. Bad luck protection from the legendary axe from Fire Arc will be active from the very beginning, would be assumed. They want to see the community's reaction to how the Fire Axe has been implemented. Based on feedback, they may reconsider the approach of implementing legendaries. The legendary comes from Fire Axe and should have a similar acquisition process to the Evoker legendary, not exactly the same, but similar. This was to be expected. I assumed it would be the same. So I guess maybe it will be kind of a mystery of how it happens. I assumed it would just drop from the first kill of the Mythic end boss in every region and then just start dropping for everyone else after that. But maybe not. Dragonflight will have Season 4 with Fated raids. Makes sense. We already talked about that. Team wants to continue exploring catch-up mechanics for loot acquisition to counteract RNG, but the dinar system in Shadowlands may have been too generous. And then apparently this was false, and they re-clarified that there will be a dinar system, but they'd like to avoid vendors being the default way to acquire the best gear in WoW every season. This is not surprising. Basically, in general, in game development, basically anything can be solved with a vendor, but that's considered like a boring, not interesting way to solve problems. Have you ever wondered why there's a hesitancy to make vendors for things when it seems like as a community you're like, just do the vendor? And at times they should have done that, but there's usually more interesting and intricate solutions to something other than just everything has a vendor, which I actually agree with. But there have been times for sure where, like, oh my god, if they would have just fucking done the vendor or something better, it would have just been so much better. But not to say there should never be a vendor, but just it should not always be the solution. Okay, so wow, I learned nothing from that. That's such a letdown. I hope they never do that again. Post the whole interview, unless they weren't allowed to. What can they do in Season 4 Fated to be, like, cool? Here's what I mean. So we talked about this before. The Fated season you all have done or heard about, again, was just done by almost no amount of employees. It was just like YOLO'd to make the end of the expansion more interesting. So assuming that now it's replacing a full season, which again, I'm not a fan of, but if you're going to give them any credit for that, it would be that they're obviously going to do way more with it. My question to you all is, what does that look like? What does a more heavily invested Fated season look like? Like, forget even like Mythic Plus and raids for a second. Like, I think it obviously includes a Mythic Plus season. But like, what is it for like regular content? You think they're gonna like actually do? It's basically just no raid, and like the rest of it is just like a normal season, and then it'll just be Fated. I would be a pretty big fan of them actually bringing back older raids like Time Walking, but actually done right. Like, Time Walking's a fucking joke. Like, bring back fucking Mythic Throne of Thunder, you know, like real ass Throne of Thunder for a season. I would fucking love that shit. Nah, I mean, if he mentioned dinars, I think they're pretty much already telling you they're just going to rotate the 3 raids from this expansion. God, it's so lame. My question is whether they just remove the affixes from the raids or whether they make the affixes better. Because, like, the affixes from raids were, like, super whatever. I don't think they added anything. It was a fine experiment, but I don't think it added anything to the season. I think they could have removed the Fated affixes, still rotated the raids the exact same way, and it would have been just as good. I don't think that the affixes did anything. So like the question is, do they do better with affixes or do they remove them? They'll have a lot more people working on them, so maybe they will, by default, they'll be better, and they should keep working on it. Maybe they could. I mean, this is kind of an optimistic thought, but maybe they could like actually keep the base of those fights the same, but make some like pretty major structural changes to them. But then the issue with that becomes the ability to progress it. So Fated had this weird interaction where people were progressing these raids again, but they didn't have the ability to continue their progression, right? Like, you know the feeling when you're in a 2 or 3 day guild and you have that 4-day gap in between your raids, and how much worse you are at the beginning of that next raid when you just don't remember what you did the last time because it's been so long? Like, imagine you're like progressing through Fated Castle Nathria, you kill Sludgefist and you're working on Stone Legion Generals, and then now it's 3 fucking weeks until you get to Stone Legion Generals again. So I feel like what they have to do is they have to have all of them available every week, and you as a guild can choose which one you want to progress at any given time. Because the reality is, like, the higher level guilds will feel maybe obligated to do all of them, but that's a choice. But that's not the majority of the game. The majority of people interacting with this product or with this system are doing, you know, just doing progression. And the big complaint was that they felt like they couldn't actually continue their progression they were even making. So I think having them, I don't know if there's a better solution to that. FOMO if you don't do all 3 a week. Well, with the upgrade system, you'd be like, so Fated, you actually got geared hella quick. So I mean, yeah, it would feel that way. Like, you would feel like you have to do all 3 raids, then it's like content overload. That's probably why they rotated them. But I think the rotation creates a lot more problems too. It would be cool to remove the Mythic lockout for Fated season. I mean, yeah, you're right. As an experimentation, I would like them to kill the Mythic lockout, right? Because I am positive that that should be in the game anyway, and it would just make it, you know, you would be able to see whether it's good or not. Have you made that suggestion? I mean, I've made that suggestion all the time. So, I mean, suggesting it for specifically Fated doesn't matter because I would want it all the time. Make a Frankenstein raid with a bunch of different bosses. Oh, that's interesting. Like, there's basically one raid layout, and it's just like a random order of bosses from the expansion for that week or something, and you don't even know until you get in there. But again, that doesn't really solve the progression problem. But it does sound kind of fun. Bro, imagine you do like Aberrus and like you're pulling up to Rashok, but it's just Laredar, you know? But then Laredar's room is so specific, but it could port you to the room. He doesn't have to be, yeah. I don't know. I just think they can sauce it up a little bit, that's all. Or what if they optimize their development cycle and resources to include an actual tier instead of... Dude, we're all there with you. No one here is saying that Fated is a reasonable replacement of an actual patch. No one. I have very, very aggressively said that I think that is terrible that seems to be the case. That is fucking trash. But it's what we're getting. So we're trying to say, like, you know, how can they make Fated much better than what it was? Because your idea of Fated from before is what you're assuming it's going to be for the next time. I'm not saying that's wrong. That's built off of trust. But also this Fated is certainly going to be made by a lot more people. So you assume, we're just saying, like, if Fated is going to be better, how is it better? Like, what could you do with it to make it better? Imagine no new raid in a year from now. Yeah, it's honestly fucking sad. It's really sad. I'm really sad about it. I mean, it's hard to be sad because, like, we're doing a raid in a week and that sounds fun. But, like, actually, question. When was the last time we went a full year without a new raid? We have that graph. It's in our PoddyC Discord. Let me find it. It's the first ep. Here we go. All right, so these are the days from a patch being released and a raid. So, like, this is Dragon Soul, for example. Firelands got released, and then 154 days later, Dragon Soul was released, and then it took 300 days after Cata was released, or after Dragon Soul was released for MoP to come out. And then this, I believe, is Siege of Orgrimmar? I think Throne of Thunder. So if I remember correctly, the MoP timeline was 63 days for Heart of Fear to be done, like Mogashan Vaults, then Heart of Fear, and then Terrace of Endless Spring, I think, came out at the end of the 60 days, I think. And then 98 days of Terrace of Endless Spring. And then Tomb of Sargeras was these yellow and green ones. First was Mogashan Vaults. Yeah, I know first was Mogashan Vaults, but I don't think this was all Mogashan Vaults. I'm pretty sure you did Heart of Fear like a couple weeks after. Heart of Fear came out like a couple weeks after Mogashan. It didn't take 2 months. Oh, did I say Tomb? I meant Terrace of Endless Spring, yeah. So it did, yeah, Mogashan Vaults and then Heart of Fear and then Terrace of Endless Spring. I don't think that was all within 60 days. Maybe it was, and then this content patch was something else. Either way, this was Throne of Thunder, the 77 and 81 days thing, and then Siege of Orgrimmar was purple, and that was over a year, 460 days of one raid. So that's the world record holder right here, and that's fucking insane. There's only been 2 raids that went more than a year, Siege of Orgrimmar and Hellfire Citadel. Yeah, I mean, it looks right now that, right, like, we're gonna get a patch right around here, and it's gonna last 300 days. They did say fall and not winter, so, like, you know, maybe the expansion comes out in August, which would be, you know, only 9 months away or something like that. But I mean, it's still, August is hard summer. Am I thinking of Sep, young Sep? I consider August fall. I think it's because it was where I grew up. Where I grew up in August was when, like, all the leaves turned and it seemed like it was fall. You lived in Texas and consider August fall? No, I barely ever lived in Texas. I lived in Kentucky. We had all the seasons. Damn, that's sad, man. There's a lot of optimism. I'm here for that. But the fact that we're just not getting another raid this expansion it's definitely ass. It's super ass. Right? Like this, like if you want to actually just visualize it, right? Here is, look at Shadowlands, right? Look at this big old bar. This is Castle Nathria. This is Sanctum of Domination, and Sepulchre is this yellow bar, and then Fated was the blue bar. Fated is okay when it's that, right? When Fated is both of these things, that's trash. Fated cannot be the size of a normal season. That's not good enough. It's not acceptable, right? Fated is only good when there's like a couple months left in the expansion, and you're like, all right, we'll just do a little fun thing. That's it. It's like almost like a glorified bigger pre-patch, just like some fun, you know. Poor Dratnos on this pause. Oh yeah, he's looking real good. The new expansions are definitely going to be 3 tiers at most too. Yeah, that's what I'm scared of. Like, I don't know. That's not an acceptable norm, you know? Like, look at the raids leading up to this, right? Like, Shadowlands COVID expansion, all good, right? We get it. We'll give you a pass for that. Or at least I'll just for the sake of this argument, let's just ignore Shadowlands. All right, COVID happened, affected every industry, and specifically like game production, everyone got fucked. That's why there were so many good games out this year. A lot of them were going to come out over the last few. All right, BFA, pretty similar content cadence, but BFA just had 4 raids and a mini raid. 4 real raids and a mini raid. And they were releasing patches faster than we're getting here, right? I don't know. Legion's kind of weird because like Legion only had like 3 real raids. It had Nighthold, Tomb of Sargeras, and Taurus, but like they had like the 2 baby raids at the beginning. So Nighthold probably combined was like 2 tiers, like the whole Nighthold tier, those 3 raids. Emerald Nightmare doesn't count. So before BFA, their expansion and like raid philosophy was like they did these little like intro raids, right? So starting from Cata, like the first tier was the Alakir raid, Bastion of Twilight, and the other one where you fought Neltharion. Mop first raid was Mogishan Vaults, Heart of Fear, Terrace of Endless Spring. That was all 1 tier. They were not 3 separate raids. Legion had, or WAD had High Mall into Blackrock Foundry. Those were not 2 separate raids. They were 1 tier. Legion had Emerald Nightmare, Trial of Valor, Nighthold. They were 3 raids, but they were all 1 tier. And then that stopped in BFA. BFA just started as like, okay, we're giving you guys Oldir, but just letting you know, this is the first time in 3 expansions you're getting Oldir, but Oldir is a full-ass raid. It's the same as the last raid of your previous expansion, and it's not a Mogishan Vault. It's not an Emerald Nightmare. It's not, right? There is a very clear difference in direction. So BFA is like what you're looking for, and Shadowlands was obviously different. And then Dragonflight, Dragonflight is following along BFA's footsteps, but just cuts a raid. I don't get it. Max, so are you saying the best thing in your eyes is the BFA bar? Cut Nyalotha in half for a faded. Yeah, I think you could do BFA, cut out Crucible of Storms, and do a faded raid for the last couple months of Nyalotha, instead of having Nyalotha be 3 months longer of a season. Absolutely. That's actually, if you were to ask me like exactly what I want to do that, yeah. I think faded is great if it is used only as a minor thing at the end of expansion for fun, and could never replace a full season. It's like pretty much the only negative news of the whole thing was just basically confirming that this was the last raid. It's simple. X-Packs bring in money, tiers don't. You're not trading one for the other, though. Nothing's coming out earlier than it normally would, yeah. Your dog is laying in the same spot as that video? Wait, really? Okay, Lily is like that here. She's laying in the same spot, but she's doing, she's in a different laying down position.